chaos.
Every day is a new adventure in bullshit. What? My frame rate is strange too now. What's going
I'm
on?
so glad I saw your message though, because I literally was like, I have an hour to get ready. So
All right, you're on in three, two, one.
It's just happened. We're just live. It's fine.
we're live. 2 minutes
We're
ago,
just live.
2 minutes ago, I thought I had 1 hour.
And then my camera broke, and then the intro broke, and the everything is broken, and this is the show. And it just is what the show is. Hey everybody. Welcome to SkepTalk. It sure is. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, looking more pale than usual. Don't you love that? And I'm joined today, back with a triumphant return, long time and no see. How are you, Dr. Roxanne?
I'm frazzled but amazing. Very happy to be here. Hell yeah.
That is precisely what we're going for here. Just so everybody knows, in case you've forgotten, this is a show where you can call in and talk to scientists and experts in various fields about science that you disagree with. We do always prioritize calls from theists. If you want to talk to us about Jesus and why we need it, why the Bible is the good book, why we need to be saved, and all these different things, that's all great. But also different fields of science that we specialize in and want to talk about. So as of right now, I am updating the things here. We've got some scrolling things across the bottom. I'm going to put in we don't need God is good. MAGA is anti-science is good. Vaccines save lives is fun. Evolution is real and obvious. Bible is not the good book. Humans are apes. I'm also going to throw in there trans men are men and trans women are women. I just put that in there like that. Pop up. We'll put that in there as well. In the meantime, Roxanne, where have you been?
Where haven't I been? Well, thanks for asking. I moved cross country, which has occupied the majority of my time. So I am in my new home as of January, and it feels like it's been 7 months, but it also feels like it's been 47 years. And so I've been trying to become a human and settle into a new state and a new job and a new everything and get back into content and get back into being on socials. So that's what I've been doing.
It sounds like a nightmare. You were in Florida for a long time, right?
Yes, I am very, very happily not in Florida anymore. I am in Seattle.
Amazing.
I got literally about as far away as I could go while staying in the continental U.S.
And you, just so I can remember, you were a host for a long time on Chewed Gum and whatnot, and then you got a job that disallowed this. So now you're finally back. So, how often can we expect to see you?
So, for those of you listening who are considering a switch to the corporate world, turns out most corporate jobs really don't want you to have solidified opinions on things that are controversial. So I was not allowed to be on socials. I wasn't allowed to do anything that discussed gender, politics, religion. And I'm like, my God, that's everything that comes out of my mouth. And so now I have that freedom. Right. So I have that freedom back so I can be here whenever.
Look at this major jump in brightness right there. I don't know what's happening with my shit. As you're speaking, I'm over here trying to fix my stream issues because I don't have enough blood. And so I always look vampiric and terrible. But now just things are just exponentially worse. And man, I would like to look like a human being and also get the stream thing over here fixed so like that works for the audience. We've got all sorts of problems here on SkepTalk, but you, the viewers, don't have to be one of them. If you would like to talk to Roxanne about psychology, to me about biology, or both of us about a variety of things, we're here to take your calls. Specifically, Roxanne, I know now that you are free of the shackles of employment, I am. One thing that I love about you is that you, like me, are a petulant little shit who's always looking to start a fight, and cause problems and say things that will get you, just attacked in your comment section. I do this all the time. It's a lot of fun. And that's what we're here for everyone else as well. This is where you can get your daily supply, satisfy your craving for woke gender indoctrination. That's what we are here for today. We're here to trans the mice. We're here to indoctrinate the children. We're here to spread the word of our Lord and Savior. Who the fuck is the most recent boogeyman? Fucking, oh, I had the name. Who did that shitty ass fucking 5th place swimmer lose to or tie with? That's become a whole thing. You know what I'm talking about? Riley Gaines, who should not. If anyone hates anybody, we should all hate Riley Gaines' fucking swim coach, because if she had been able to beat a 5th place position, we would have been able to shut the Leah Thomas. That's it. Spread the Lord, the praise, the good news of our Lord and Savior, Leah Thomas. That's the dumbass joke I was trying to make. We're here to turn the frogs gay, and we can do it with your help. So pick up that phone if you disagree with us, if you think that evolution isn't real, or that MAGA is a pro-science cult, or that trans folks aren't backed by biology and psychology and everything else, or whatever of the other weird things we hear in our comment sections on a daily basis. Pick up that phone. 720-619-2288 is the number on the screen, and we would love to hear from you. I'm also down to take calls from any Trump supporter. Anybody who just wants to tell us why they're MAGA at this point. I want to hear you tell me that not everybody who disagrees with me is a Nazi. I want to have that call. What kind of calls are you looking for, Roxanne?
How can I even follow that? I feel like that was like a word vomit situation.
It's me rambling.
Well, everything you talked about sounded way more fun than what I was going to say, which is that I really love. I'm a scientist. I really love talking with folks who think that social science in general is like not a real science. Like, I want to have a conversation with you about what you know about science and how research is done, and why you think that a survey doesn't tell you something about how people think or feel, or why studying humans is flawed. I want to talk to people about gender essentialism, people who think that men and women are uniquely, inherently different. And then I want to hear from anyone who has something silly to say that I can laugh at.
I am approving the comments in the chat here. Someone put, spread the woke ideology of transgenderism and socialism, and it got held for review because YouTube assumes that person's a hater. But no, that's exactly what we're doing here. I also want to put out a big fuck you to Jovan Bradley, who is currently streaming at the same time that we are streaming with Ari, no less. So two regular hosts on this channel currently trying to leech streams away from us. How dare they? They're transphobic is what it is that we're both here trying to progressively advocate for women, especially trans folks. And they're just transphobic and anti-feminist, and probably racist too, if we're being honest, because like both of us, it
all goes together.
It really does. It really does. So go let Jovan know that he's transphobic and racist, and that's why he's streaming at the same time. Specifically, he's probably racist against white people, if we're being very honest. But I also want to know, what is this? We have... Okay, whatever. We have a one caller on the line that we'll be taking here in just a second. I wanted to get your take on this, the hottest of takes that you may have. I heard someone posting a thing recently talking about like the overall plan behind the trans panic, and the structure of the rhetoric behind it. And something they said that really stuck out to me was that the goal here is to get especially conservative women to start agreeing and try to like leach into liberal and leftist spaces as well. This idea, like you just said, that men and women are inherently physiologically, biologically so incredibly different that it is protection to separate them, because a man will always beat a woman in anything that she ever does. And if you let it, that's why the rhetoric is always men and women's spaces, men and women's sports, men and women. Anytime you put a man and a woman together, the man will be a conquering and domineering force that will just totally be all these things. And that then creates this immutable situation that we can then use to hurt trans people in the short term, but in the long term will become anti-abortion rhetoric, and women have to stay in the house rhetoric, and women shouldn't be working rhetoric, and all these other things. What are your thoughts on? Is that too big of a stretch for you, or do you vibe with that?
I think it's a hefty topic to jump right into. I think I get because I am not familiar with the argument that you. Like, I've heard pieces of this. I think, so if I'm understanding correctly, like the basic foundation of what you're saying is that like the argument is really that men don't belong in women's sports because men are inherently superior, more athletic, stronger, whatever. And that can kind of over time snowball into that it's like an entry point into further division. I think there are a couple pieces to it. One, well, I've already forgotten what I was going to say. What was I going to say? Well,
Just
I'll come
like
back to that.
You see that?
Secondly, I think it's interesting that we never see the reversal. It's never a fear of trans women or trans. It's never a fear of trans men, right? Like someone who is biologically assigned female at birth who is transitioning, because like what's feminine is just like weak and non-important and non-threatening. So I think it comes down to, you see it a lot with like the bathroom scare talk. Like it sounds like what these people are afraid of, or what they think is potentially harmful or domineering, is like men in disguise, like men sneaking into a woman's bathroom to harm them. You're not concerned about being transgender, you're scared about like a man going undercover. And I think like that should be addressed. Like if your fear is that like you think that men are violent, well, there's the answer. There was something else that immediately came to mind that then immediately left my brain. Oh, I think yes. So I think the conversation really is like this veiled paternalism of like women are weak and we need to like protect them. And part of that protection is like not even allowing them to compete with someone that might beat them, because like how embarrassing would it be for like a man to like beat a woman and in a race or whatever sport, and like women need to just like not even put themselves in situations where men will outperform them. They should just do their own thing with their girlfriends and stay home. Like it's this double-edged, recognizing that men are a threat and also feeling like women need to be protected, and that in and of itself is literally sexism, hostile and benevolent. So it's just the system of sexism playing out in various different ways.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is that like, I do see there's plenty of hate out there for trans men, but like almost 99% of the time when I'm looking at the political discourse, that is the issue. It's always trans women, and like and I see that where you now have people who call themselves feminists reducing women down to their reproductive ability, reducing women down to their chromosomes, to their organs, to whatever. All these really, really anti-feminist talking points, which I've been bitching about for years, and now I'm seeing this additional thing, which is, and that's why they're adding on the next part of Project 2025, and that's why now women should be kept at home. They don't need to be educated. They don't need to be voting. They don't need to be doing anything. These are all man's things, and we should be separating men and women more like socially and politically, keeping them more socially and politically stratified because we have these immutable biological characteristics.
Speaking of that, if you haven't read this already, Delusions of Gender is an incredible... Wait, hold on. Do I have to do the influencer thing? Wait, it's blurry. Okay, it's called Delusions of... It's called Delusions of Gender, and it goes fully into this pseudoscientific myth that there are hardwired fundamental differences between men and women's brains. And if anyone here wants a great book to read on this so that they can whip out some
Cordelia
evidence.
Fine?
Yeah, that's the one.
I haven't
So
dropped the
good.
link. I was going to drop the link, but it's a fucking long ass link. Let me see if I can get a URL shortener. And I'll drop that link in the thing.
It's also just
Oh,
like
my glob.
I recently I talk about this a lot because there has been really shitty research done to justify these gender differences. And typically it's like someone asking a very basic question and then like men and women answer differently. And they're like, oh, look at that. Men and women are built different. They answer differently on these like key questions. And it's like, okay, but why? And then you do just the tiniest bit of digging and it's like, oh, it's because women experience all these different threats and shit than men. And so their answer is learned. It's like a learned socialized difference, not genetic. But it's too complicated for many people.
That's the biggest
to
issue that I'm having
understand.
with it. That's the biggest issue I'm having. Is that like something I talked about in that video that you reviewed the script for a while ago was like that concept of like, it's not that you have this immutable fundamental difference based on neuroanatomy or whatever. Like, it's that you're living a gendered life, which
Mhm.
gives you a gendered experience. Neuroplasticity creates a gendered brain. You have gendered activation patterns. You have gendered habits. You have gendered how do you say heuristics, and those are all very unique and interesting things to talk about. And like I feel like a lot of folks see that as no, that just means that women are this way, and like they don't like. I don't understand how that's a leap that anyone's comfortable taking.
Because it's simple. Because otherwise, they would have to acknowledge that there's nuance and a spectrum of ways of being and ways of thinking and feeling. And it's so much easier to just be like, no, men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah,
Like,
girl. When we started,
and that's just the way it is.
I would love to start into calls, and we have 3 people right now. We have 2 who are currently waiting, and 1 person who's currently screening. None of them are here to talk about gender things yet, but one of them has a question for both of us, and so I'm going to start there. But I want to let everybody know the goal of today is to talk about biology and psychology. So if you want to argue about evolution, I'm here for you. If you want to argue about whatever psychology thing you heard today, Roxanne is here for you. And if you want to talk about the intersection of gender in a psychological and biological way, we're both here for you. Because, oh my glob, I hear so many people telling me, no, sex is biology and gender is psychology. And I'm like, hey, you'll never guess what sort of things exhibit psychological traits. It's biological things. So, like, I would love to have this conversation. I'm like, I'm here for you. Let's start, first of all, by talking to Hubsy, who wants to talk about chiropractics of all things, and especially wants to get your take as a psychologist on this. I'm not sure why. Hubsy, you are on the line with Forrest and Roxanne. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
Awesome. I'm all right. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought this might be the best opportunity to call since you have a doctor of psychology with you. Somebody in what you would call a soft science, I assume, as a hard scientist yourself, correct?
I wouldn't. I hate the distinction between hard and soft science. I would never use this terminology, but I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well, because I oftentimes thought of psychology as science and science, just straight up science. So, but my concern is you've backhandedly dismissed chiropractic wholesale, and I don't know if that's entirely my perspective. I've been a chiropractor for 26 years. When I went to school 30 years ago, there was no doctorate in physical therapy available. All there was a doctorate in chiropractic. It was becoming more mainstream, considered complementary care instead of alternative care. And then Medicare started covering it and paying for it. And then finally, we started getting peer-reviewed journal publications like Spine and JMPT, and physical therapists and chiropractors publish all the time. So I understand that you may be biased towards the history of chiropractic, which I agree with you is nonsensical and stupid. But 80% of chiropractors nowadays don't follow a subluxation based practice. We're all pretty much mixers, they're called, where we do primarily physical therapy in our office. So that's my beef.
So I will make fun of chiropractic based on its history, but I won't judge it on its efficacy based on its history. That would be a genetic fallacy, but its history is funny. But no, as far as I know, as far as I know, and I'm double checking here. I just hit up Google Scholar and I'm just looking up review articles from, the past few years to see if there's like a more modern review article that I didn't know about or something that might be new coming out.
Go to Open Evidence.
I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any
Open
new
Evidence
reviews.
Yeah, Open Evidence AI has a lot more, and it includes journals like JMPT and Spine, even though they talk about it through Lancet and JAMA and stuff, through a filter of Lancet and JAMA and New England Journal. But there's a lot of publications in JMPT, specifically for neuromusculoskeletal.
Right. As far as I know, the last I heard of it is that, and where I usually leave my opinions on it, is that chiropractic care has been shown to be somewhat effective for like some like joint pain and like musculoskeletal stuff, especially in like the back and whatnot, like that's, and so it has some effectiveness for some of those things in the short term. It's dangerous as fuck to get your neck cracked because you're going to dissect your vertebral arteries.
That's about it. You want to talk about that for a second?
And the issue that I have with it, the reason why I take beef with chiropractics, is because I'm totally fine with people using it as a supplementary thing, as I am with like osteopathic manipulative medicine and other things that are just like, okay, this definitely isn't the kind of medicine that we're usually talking about, but it is a fun little supplement that people might want to do, might want to enjoy. That's fine. My issue is when chiropractors, as I'm sure you will recognize is a major problem among chiropractors, will then take it to say, no, I can literally manipulate your skeleton and pop your back and cure a disease and like make you and boost your immune system, and it's this pinched nerve that's causing your lupus, and like all these things that get into basically acupressure and acupuncture. And then you get the majority of people who call themselves doctors who are also anti-vaxxers are chiropractors, and the majority of people who call themselves doctor who are out here pushing bullshit rapid weight loss through quinoa therapies and all these things are chiropractors. So like, I have no issue if you're a chiropractor and you stay in your lane as a chiropractor and you do chiropractics in an evidence-based way that is data-driven and that operates in the things that you are supposed to operate on, and you're a supplement to, medical doctors and doctor of osteopathic medicine, all these different things. Fine, no problem. Same exact way that I feel about osteopathic manipulative medicine, and all these other stuff. But you wouldn't go to a physical therapist, as you referenced, as something that wasn't available to you. You wouldn't recommend someone go to a physical therapist if they have fucking cancer. And so if somebody's telling you to go to a chiropractor for that, then that's a problem too. That's all.
That was a lot. Yeah. The last bit I absolutely agree with, and I have a personal story, very short one. My grandmother died of cancer because a chiropractor mistreated her, and I personally think that's abhorrent. And I don't. Most chiropractors don't talk in those terms. Don't try to fix asthma. Don't adjust babies. None of that stupidness. A lot of us stick in our lane. Neuromusculoskeletal, primarily neck and lower back, with the same efficacy as physical therapy. In fact, I had an office where I had two physical therapists and a medical doctor that worked underneath me, and we got along just fine because our approach is the same. The body is healing itself. We're just nudging it. We're guiding it in the right direction, and it's in alignment with evidence-based science, and we all are happy and as clams. The conflict comes between chiropractors and other chiropractors. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Plus, there's the backlash of medical conspiracies against chiropractic some 50 years ago that still has not completely worked itself out yet. You threw a lot out there. Oh, the VBI incidence is 0.1%. What is the incident of complication associated with taking an ibuprofen? That's all I would counter that one with. 0.1% of cervical manipulation can result in at worst a VBI, and a lot of times in that 0.1%, it was not done by a chiropractor. It was done by somebody who's not skilled, or they went to get their hair cut and they had a stroke because of a VBI, and that's unfairly thrown on our profession. Yet I have to screen everybody who comes into my office for a VBI every single day, but nobody screens them when they go and get an aspirin. That has the incidence of 1 in 3,000 of causing complications. It seems like an unfair bias, in my opinion. And the success rate of lower back surgery being 30%, I would think that complementary care such as physical therapy and chiropractic should be the first gateway that everybody should go through, as well as the opioid addiction that we are suffering right now. So many people are addicted on opioids. What was the statistic?
Right.
Yeah, statistic. 86% of heroin addicts started on
This is a
oxycodone.
lot. This is a lot of whataboutism. And at the end of the day,
That's
chiropractic care is, I will grant you that it's understudied, that like there's not a lot of data out there. And if you think it should be studied more, I'm fine with saying that. But like I said, the first thing I did here, I didn't go to an AI. The first thing I did is start going through Google Scholar and doing like the actual digging that I'm supposed to do. And what I'm seeing over and over and over, like in this clinical evaluation from Journal of Pain and Symptom Management, published by Ernst in 2008. Like this is a summary of what I'm seeing over and over, and I can post several sources with the same kind of language, is that
right.
With the possible exception of back pain, chiropractic spinal manipulation has not been shown to be effective for any medical condition. Manipulations are often associated with frequent, mild adverse effect and with serious complications of unknown incidence. The cost effectiveness has not been demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt. The concepts of chiropractic care are not based on solid science, and its therapeutic value has not been demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt. I also have this one, Chiropractic Care in Children. This is a pediatric look by Misra et al., published in Clinical Pediatrics in 2025, so just last year. And it has the same thing. There are limited data with a range of findings and often no definitive conclusion on whether or not these things are actually effective. Pediatric care providers should discuss this use with as a complementary therapy. And so, like, that's what I keep saying over and over, and what I said just a minute ago. I have no issue with your profession if you are presenting it honestly, practicing it honestly, and not pretending like you are a thing that can replace a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and that you are capable of treating immunological issues or autoimmune diseases or chronic illness or metabolic diseases or anything else other than specific acute musculoskeletal issues. Like that, if you're talking about, well, the body heals itself and we're just nudging it, that sounds a whole hell of a lot like naturopathy and holistic medicine to me. And I'm willing to grant you that you have a different thing that they don't have, but that's different.
What does a medical doctor and a physical therapist do if not just let your body heal naturally, get rid of the symptoms, and let it take over? The only people that truly go in there invasively are surgeons. Medical doctors and physical therapists and chiropractors are all relying on your natural ability for your joints to undergo the arthritic process and heal appropriately. We're just nudging in like re-breaking the arm so that it heals correctly. And that's exactly what a medical doctor is going to do by giving you an anti-inflammatory, a pain reliever, and a muscle relaxant. They're not giving you anything that is truly going to heal the joint itself, short of surgically going in there and ripping things out. So that's
the difference being I've never, like I said, I'm fine with you saying that that's just a way you say that and that you can relate it to what other doctors do. Great. I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, in these other situations, we're talking about evidence-based, best practice, backed by data and modern biomedical sciences that is constantly changing. That's not, like I said, chiropractic has not met that burden. It's been shown a few
Well-
times to be sometimes helpful in very specific situations. So if people want to use it for those very specific situations, I have no beef with that. And if chiropractors want to say they're good at fixing those very specific situations, I have no beef with that. My issue is that, like I said, by and large, and I know this is anecdotal from my point, but by and large, when I see someone calling themselves a doctor and pushing pseudoscience that is bad medicine that actually hurts people, that person is a doctor of chiropractics.
You see, I've had a different experience. Most acupuncturists were medical doctors first. That's what I've seen. Most nutritionalists
Which is scary.
or naturopathists were medical
Considering
first.
considering the fact that acupuncture has even less data supporting it and good data against it.
Agreed.
So that's
it
scary
works on
as
the gate
fuck.
theory. It's a wonderful little diversion, but it doesn't cure anything. Now, my counter argument would be kind of like, you would not look through a dental journal to find anthropology stuff, right? What I would say
I
is,
haven't
in
looked
order
at
to
any
find out
specific
about
medical
physical,
journals.
well, medical is not the appropriate journals to be looking into. You want to look into something that involves spinal manipulation or some type of physical therapy or physical medicines like JMPT or spine. Those are the best ones out there. The double-blind, peer-reviewed studies that are done by chiropractors and physical therapists alike, and they publish. And
Do you have one?
the evidence gathered, I don't have. I was not expecting the call, but the evidence that is gathered the only means that it could be gathered, and that's through clinical setting. That you have case study after case study after case study. There's no laboratory that you can go into to replicate the spinal manipulation consistently to show the effectiveness and the physiological effects of the joint mobilization and all that stuff. It has to be submitted like psychology over long periods of clinical review, and that's it. That's what I would say is only that you have to look at the right sources to find the right information. And if you look into JMPT and all that stuff, they agree with you that when it comes to chiropractic field of practice, they should stay the hell away from things that they don't do. My education is not in pharmaceuticals. I have more of an education in anatomy and physiology and joint kinesiology than the average medical doctor does. And that's all I do. I am a mechanic, period. I will not diagnose you with anything other than what I can't fix. And if I can't address it, if red flags show up, instantly you get referred out. That's just the way 80% of chiropractors work nowadays. They don't try to cure everything through chiropractic manipulation. So,
Spinal manipulative therapy due to the low. Yeah, due to the low quality. This is now clinical effectiveness and efficacy of chiropractic spinal manipulation for spine pain. I'm gonna read that again since I just fucked that all up. Clinical effectiveness and efficacy for chiropractic spinal manipulation for spine pain. This is published by Gavires Montoro et al. In Frontiers in Pain Research in 2021. So this is not specifically a medical journal. This is Biomed. And this is a systematic review here. And we're ending here with, despite discrepancy, current clinical practice guidelines almost universally recommend the use of SMT. This is, okay, sorry. This is spinal manipulative therapy, SMT, that they're talking about. SMT. I just want to make sure I'm saying that out loud for the audience. Currently, it is SMT is recommended in combination with exercise for neck pain as part of a multimodal approach. It may also be recommended as a frontline intervention for low back pain. Despite some reigning discrepancies, current clinical best practice guidelines almost universally recommend the use of SMT for spine pain. Due to the low quality of evidence, the efficacy of SMT compared to placebo or Mo treatment remains uncertain. Therefore, future research is needed to clarify specific effects of SMT to further evaluate this intervention. It's exactly what I've been saying over and over. People are recommending this as something that is supplemental, something that is an addition to, but it is not good. I'm not saying it's not good medicine. I'm saying I have no reason to believe it is good medicine. And I think I'm shown over and over and over that it is sometimes useful for very specific things and may be used as a supplementary thing for those very specific things. That's all I have ever said about chiropractic. That's all I'm saying now.
That is all I'm asking for.
You have no, You do not have enough evidence to back up the majority of the claims that the chiropractic profession makes as a whole. You don't have enough evidence to back it up. There aren't enough studies to back it up. You guys should be doing more, and I'm fine with it if you want to say that you're useful in some acute areas and some very specific areas as a supplement to real medicine. You can even say it's a part of the real medicine. But you can't just say that it is the cure, and you can't just say that it is a thing standalone by itself that is useful, that everybody should be doing, that's blah, 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 blah. So, like, I appreciate your perspective.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you in all of the statements. Part of
Roxanne?
Can I ask a
comprehensive
question?
chiropractic.
Yeah.
I have a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roxanne.
No, that's right. I have a question because I saw someone post this in the chat, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm curious why you said that you were excited to talk about this with a psychologist on the line. Is it because you wanted a psychological evaluation of Forrest's resistance to chiropractics, or is it because you think that people think the same thing about psychology as chiropractic care?
As deplorable as it is to say, your profession has gone through the dredge just like mine has. Now, luckily, you guys have come out of it and are respectable, and we're still struggling to get through. So I was hoping an ally on this side, but I was assuming, I suppose, but maybe not.
Roxanne,
in all fairness, my first wife was a psychologist. She's the one who pushed me into chiropractic in the first place, so I'm going to blame her for it.
Mm.
That's funny, of course. We'll blame your wife. That sounds like a good way forward. Yeah.
Always.
I'm not going to add much. I feel like Forrest, coming from the kind of peer-reviewed evidence POV, has done a pretty solid job. I will say, while Forrest was chatting, I found the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine, which looks like it's an Elsevier journal. So there are some journals of chiropractic medicine. I don't know what's in those journals. A brief review looks like it's a lot of like physical therapy related stuff, which kind of speaks to Forrest's point of like, and some points in the comment section of like, what are you doing that's different than physical therapists, and why won't physical therapists do what you're doing? I think someone said that, and that makes sense.
We are doing nothing different. We are doing absolutely nothing different than physical therapists. The only thing that we're doing different is maybe we add decompression therapy, which I know is still one of those fringe things, but I've found it to be very effective in reducing symptomatology with radiculopathy down the leg, any type of disc prolapse or anything like that. I've gotten great relief with my patients in 3 to 4 visits. Not a lifetime of care, but everything else that I do in my office, you would find at a physical therapist's office. Strengthening the core muscle, specifically focusing on the multifidus muscle. We do the same things, and that's why I had physical therapists working for me, because I don't have the time to spend an hour working on one person. Since then, I've retired somewhat. I do, but
I think that to say that you do absolutely nothing that a physical therapist wouldn't do, and that you're absolutely no different than a physical therapist in your operations, is a massive claim. And I am not prepared or capable or qualified to, dig through it, because I'm not a physical therapist at all. But I know we probably have some watch this show. So I would ask at this point, I think that we've come to a point on this where we can agree to leave it. I would ask physical therapists in the chat, review this call and everything that Hubsy has said here and the way that he has described his profession. And you tell us if you think, in the comments, in the chat, whatever, if you were a physical therapist, drop your credentials, say, hey, this is my the suffix of my name, and you tell me if you agree, because I'll keep an eye open for that. I would love to hear that.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the call. Thank you guys so much for taking the time.
All right, take care, Upsy. Bye-bye.
Yep, you too. Bye.
I have a thought. Because I'm trying to keep up with the chat, and there's a lot. There was also something
I wouldn't do that.
Someone asked about science communication. Maybe you and I later can chat about science communication, because I think that's interesting from both our POVs. But I think he thinks I'm a therapist, which is a common misconception when people think psychologist. I'm not sure because he said his wife is a psychologist. And then I'm seeing some like convo in the chat. So just to clarify also for like everyone, I'm not a therapist. I have a PhD in social psychology, which is a non-clinical field within psychology. I think the therapy to chiropractic relationship, like I think people could maybe try to draw a relationship there of like, oh, does it work? Is it placebo? Whatever. Like therapy is definitely helpful, but I think like I'm just trying to figure out why he was trying to draw a relationship there. I'm almost certain that his wife was a therapist, the same wife that he wanted to blame for his career choice. And he probably just didn't know what she actually did.
That was very funny.
So, wow.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it was a super good faith, cool thing. I don't understand what the major disagreement was, because all I have ever said about chiropractic, as I said in this call so many times, is there isn't enough data to back it up. It hasn't been proven to be most of the things that it claims to be, and it should stick to this one area and quit pretending to be the cure for everything. And it sounds like he agreed with all of that. So I don't understand what the rest of the problem was. Maybe it's just that I'm flippant and disrespectful, which I am towards most things. And that's fine.
It sounded like you had previously went on some rant about your disbelief in chiropractors.
I'll do it again. I'll do it every day. I'll do it probably by the end of this show. We've got one call about debating about the Bible and wants to say that the Bible is a good book. And we've got another call talking about intelligent design and evolution. Which would you prefer to start with?
Neither.
And we have one other person who just wants to talk about some sciencey things. That person's going to be waiting for a very long time. I hope they understand.
Whichever sounds most fun to you, because the Bible, I've never opened her. So whatever floats
Quit
your boat.
bragging.
Whatever floats your boat.
All right, I'm going to start with the Bible one then, because I feel like this person is calling in to say the Bible is a good book, and I feel like we can try to force the show in the gender direction by starting with whether or not the Bible is a good book for women specifically. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Let's do it. And what do they
Let's
mean by
talk
is
to
a
Matthew.
good book?
Matthew,
Hey, guys.
he, him. What's going on?
Ew, that girl is fat and ugly.
Is that it?
Ugly girl. She's
That's the whole
ugly
thing?
and fat.
You waited for this long for that?
You're ugly
Wow.
too.
You got anything else? Is that the best you can do?
Oh,
How long were you waiting?
You're-
You were waiting for fucking... Hold on, wait. I'm going to put you on mute so nobody has to hear your dumb shit. You were waiting on mute for fucking, like, what, 20 minutes? To
Whatever
talk
makes
about
them
the
feel
Bible?
taller.
I tell you what, though. I do want to thank Matthew for calling in because, and he's still on the line, though, because he's a little bitch and he still thinks he can talk. I do want to thank Matthew for calling in because you're calling in to talk about the Bible is the good book. And then that's what you've got is just, no, I'm just going to insult somebody. Thank you for showing us how Bible believers think. Not all of them, but like, fuck, man, that's what we deal with on this show. That's what people do when they're given the Bible. If you want to make a decent, smart, intelligent, good, well-rounded, good-meaning person, say and be just dumb as hell. Then I mean, say dumb things, believe dumb things, and act like that. Bible's a good way to do it.
Wow.
Bible's a good way to do it. Matthew's still on the phone because he just doesn't understand that he's on mute. But I also want to say, while Matthew's here and obediently listening like a good little boy, what I think is most important about the Bible, I was just at a conference, BajaCon, and we met with David Fitzgerald, who's an author talking about the Bible. And he wrote a book recently and just put it out. Everybody should look it up. It's called Clearly Written by Boys. I think I actually have it. Hold on a second. Yes. Clearly Written by Boys. And it's all about the Bible. And this is a trading card someone made of me. Isn't that great? Clearly Written by Boys, A Woman's Guide to the Bible. And it goes through stories of the Bible and how very obviously this book was written by and for men. that like this book is misogynistic as fuck, anti-woman as fuck, and there's different camps. What I think is most interesting, there's different camps of Christians out there. Some of whom are like totally like, hey, and by fucking Matthew finally got the fucking hint and hung up, dumb fuck. But there's different camps of Christians out there who, some of them are saying like, oh my God, obviously it's terrible and we need to now do apologetics against that and say, oh, well, no, that was a different time, blah, blah, blah. And then there's some that are actually saying, no, Jesus was quite the feminist. He was challenging social norms of the time. He was totally against this stuff. In the same book that talks about how if you rape a virgin, you just have to pay her father for $30 and then she's your property. You know? Like, what the fuck?
I was really excited to hear how it might be a good book, considering I've never read it. I was excited.
It could have been fun, but that is the level of fucking intelligence that we get from incels. Let's try this one instead. It's a treat from the audience. We've got Gohan, who wants to talk about intelligent design. Gohan,
I feel like we've chatted before. Have I chatted with Gohan
Probably
before?
So. Probably so. Gohan calls in quite a bit. Yeah.
It's possible. How are you doing?
Phenomenal.
Good.
I'm fat and ugly.
Yeah, I'm fat and stupid.
Hey, it's all subjective, right?
Right.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, so Forrest, I've talked to you a couple of times. I'm sorry, I didn't really read the screen. Who else am I talking to?
Oh, this is Roxanne. I'm fat and ugly.
Hi, Roxanne.
Hi. I'm Roxanne. I'm a social psychologist joining Forrest to chat about things gender related.
Yeah, we're here to talk about trans people. We're here to talk about why trans men are men and trans women are women, and to help people understand a little bit more about sex and gender from a biopsycho perspective.
Well, nice to meet you, Ms. Roxanne, and Forrest, nice to talk to you again. I was kind of torn what I want to talk about today. I do obviously love to talk about abortion, but I kind of already picked a topic for evolution as evidence for God, but now I really have to talk about, I wasn't going to call in until I heard the previous caller talk about chiropractors. I don't have anything against, I don't have anything against chiropractors. I'm a doctor of physical therapy myself. We are not the same.
Okay. Should we put them on with each other?
I was gonna say this is the first time Gohan has ever called in, and I've been like, "Fuck yes, we agree."
Like, I don't have anything against chiropractors. I have a couple of patients who actually go to chiropractors, and they work well together. But if I just put it as simple as I can, a chiropractor is a Band-Aid where a PT will actually make sure you don't see you again for the thing. So you'll have to keep applying that Band-Aid. You'll have to keep going back to the chiropractor. The problem's not getting fixed. It's getting help, but it's not getting fixed. With PT, ideally, we won't see you again for the same issue.
Fucking awesome. Well, this is an auspicious day, Gohan, because you and I have had plenty of fiery conversations where we have said many colorful things to each other, and now, in the year of our Dark Lord 2026, we're here wholeheartedly agreeing with each other, and that's, what a fun time. Anyway, you're on the line, and the point of the show today is to talk mainly about gender stuff, to talk about sex and gender in biology and psychology. Would you like to talk about those things, or would you like to talk about something else?
You know what? I would actually. I'm never going to pass up an opportunity to discuss abortion. So,
abortion. All right, Roxanne, you can sit this one out. We got
I called in for a different reason, but if it's acceptable to change why I called, then I'll go ahead.
I'm always down.
Okay. So, my basic experience, I've called a couple times. I've spoken to you, Forrest, about this. I think the last time I spoke to you was when I was also talking with I don't know, I can't remember her name, but the lady from Canada who was very nice. Shoot.
No idea.
I
Okay.
think
Well,
I was on.
I'm
I think we've chatted about this together as well.
yeah. I don't
It's
think that we
possible,
employ
Roxanne. I'm
Canadians on
sorry
this
if
channel.
I-
We shouldn't if we do.
But I'm
No,
not
it's
a
back
lady
on the
from
atheist
Canada.
experience.
So.
It was back on the atheist experience.
Ah,
But I'm sorry, Roxanne, if I did I chat with you like over the phone, or did I chat with you like online?
It certainly wasn't in person. It was definitely. Oh, it would have been on this or on maybe
Okay.
chewed gum. But I feel like we had a conversation. I just remember your name and
Yes, ma'am.
someone talking about abortion.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just kind of state my simple stance, and then you guys can attack it, which you've actually done before. So I appreciate it if you could attack it again and really try to convince me to not be pro-life or not be anti-abortion.
Hell
So
yeah.
my sense is that unless there is a high enough level of severe enough harm, unless there's high enough risk of severe enough harm, you should not be able to kill purposely, directly kill another human organism. A fetus is another human organism, and so is a zygote, and so is an embryo. Therefore, you shouldn't be able to kill those unless there's a high enough reason of high enough risk of severe enough harm. And that high level of risk and harm has to be held throughout all human organisms before you kill them.
I'm taking notes. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start, Roxanne?
How would you quantify high enough risk of harm? Would a lifelong, a life of psychological turmoil, having a child that you don't want and going through a pregnancy that you don't want count as risk of harm to you?
I think that's a great question. What is that high level of risk and harm? And I'll be honest, I don't have an answer, but it needs to be held. So whatever you think is a high enough level of risk and harm to kill a 5-year-old needs to be the same level before you kill a fetus. So if you want to kill a 5-year-old for this reason, then you're not allowed to kill a fetus for the same.
Well,
Okay. So I got a couple of questions. First of all, so we're talking, I think Roxanne summarized like 30% of my argument here by saying that, like, a lot of times we talk about abortion, we're talking about, oh, the life of this baby and the life of this thing. I think that the life of the pregnant person is also important. And so, like,
Agreed.
having something, pregnancy, I'm sure you know, as someone in a medical profession, pregnancy is not a benign condition. Pregnancy is something that can very easily, if not guaranteed, will cause lifelong changes to your body and your psyche. And those changes are a lot of the times detrimental. I don't know if I've ever met someone who's ever had children that hasn't been able to tell me at least one long-term chronic negative side effect from that, mentally, physically, or both.
Agreed.
So forcing people to go through with this when they don't want to go through with this is a major deal. I understand that you're saying, well, at least that person is alive, and this, baby should also be alive, whether for good or ill. The issue that I have with that is whether or not this thing is conscious, and also if it has the right to use someone else's body against their will. So those are the two things that I would like to dig into, and then I also want to dig into some more complex conversations about what should happen in case of abortion.
I think those are two separate issues you brought up.
Yes.
Using the body against will. But let me just back up. This wasn't something you meant to bring up, but I think it's an important sticking point. You say forcing somebody to go through this. I think pretty much every single anti-abortion person thinks it should be illegal to force somebody to become pregnant. So we're not trying to force anybody to become pregnant. If we could just remove that verbiage from your previous thing. Yes, but not become pregnant.
Right.
And those are two big differences. Right. Can we agree to that?
I don't think I said force anyone to become pregnant. I said force someone to be pregnant. So if someone is pregnant and they don't want to be, you are forcing them to remain. I may have misspoke, but like just to be clear, I'm saying you are asserting that you have the right to force someone to remain pregnant against their will.
Yes.
Right. And I don't understand where the hell you get off on that. Like where you think that that's acceptable for you to make that decision. Because my thing comes down to is that this is ultimately you are deciding to violate someone's bodily autonomy to preserve someone else's life even before that person is capable of surviving on their own, is conscious.
Do we agree that bodily autonomy is not absolute?
Elaborate.
Yeah, please.
If I'm a parent and I do not want to use my bodily autonomy to keep a child warm, but that's the only option, can I violate my bodily? Should I be forced to violate my bodily autonomy and keep my child warm by hugging them? If that's the only option to keep them warm, preventing them from dying.
I think that definitely makes it. So at this point, we're talking about being a parent. And we're
Yeah, and I think
what
there
you
are things that you have to do as a parent, or you get charged with like child neglect. So
right,
but we could
I think
at least for certain circumstances, bodily autonomy.
Yeah, I think that comparing that,
at least for certain circumstances.
Right, I think comparing that to bodily autonomy and using the phrase bodily autonomy to talk about having to perform a physical action is a little bit disingenuous. I see the comparison you're trying to make here, but like it's not a violation of your bodily autonomy to say you have to go to work in order to earn money to feed yourself, right? It's a violation of your bodily autonomy to say when I go to work, they forcibly inject me with something that makes these, whatever like that, and put stuff in my body or bind me against my will or whatever like that. Those would be violations of bodily autonomy. But having to do a thing to accomplish a goal that is necessary, like a physical task, I think that's a major stretch. So, like,
I agree. So there are two different.
A better comparison here maybe would be breastfeeding. Like, that is using your body to feed your child. And no, you're not forced to do that. You can find other means to feed your child. You can use formula. But you have to make sure the child is fed.
What if you can't find other means? What if the only option is breastfeeding?
Then maybe you shouldn't have had a child.
Then maybe you should have gotten an abortion. Would have been great.
Wait. We're talking about you have a 2 or 1 year old child who can only eat right now from breastfeeding in a cabin in the woods scenario. Are you forced to, should you be forced to feed that child even if you don't want to?
In that case, then yeah, I would say that's a major good thing to do. But at the end of the day, there are other options and they should be made readily available. And now we're getting into this weird, what is society doing? And like, well, we're now talking about what options and what resources should be made available to new parents and things. Like, that's a whole other in a weird hypothetical scenario. I think it really boils down to, when we're talking about during pregnancy here, we're talking about actually when you are pregnant. This is another living creature, as you say, another human being, which that's a whole other bag of worms to get into.
That is forcibly not being.
Sure.
Sorry, not
sure.
Not
so
being
another human organism, fine, which is using your body for sustenance 24/7. And is causing permanent physical and mental changes within you. You have the right to say no thank you. And I posit it to you this way. If you and I, Gohan, have the same blood type and I'm bleeding out, I don't have the right to force you to give me blood. And even if it was forced upon you initially, if I were to come up to you and put a tube in your arm right now, and suddenly now you find yourself giving me blood and you didn't consent to that, you are not forced to continue doing so. You have a right to pull that tube out of your arm at any moment, even if it results in my death. Even if another human organism dies, even if you initially consented and you said, yeah, put the tube in, and then later on you said, you know what, I don't like this anymore, you have a right over your own body. I cannot use your body to sustain myself as a right. So what I'm saying here is that bodily autonomy is the same for everybody, including this fetus, embryo, human organism, however you want to phrase it. They have the exact same rights to bodily autonomy. Nobody can use their body either, but they also don't get to use anybody else's. That's all.
So I think there was a lot of good information there. If I could take like a 5 minute, nah, that's too much, like a 2 minute feedback situation, if you guys are okay with that.
I'll give you some time. I might interrupt, but I'll give you some time.
Yeah. So in my initial statement, I said that you cannot, if X conditions are not met, you're not allowed to kill. And when I say kill, I did say directly and purposefully kill, which means if I refuse to give you my blood, I'm not directly or purposefully killing you. You are directly dying of X disease or somehow loss of blood. Me not giving you blood is not your cause of death. But with abortion, it is. So what I wanted to get into was for bodily autonomy, there are two areas of places that I think we both agree that's not absolute. So one is with direct action, like where I'm going to actually force you to do an action, which we kind of talked about with giving breast milk or keeping your child warm. Those are direct actions that need to happen. But the other side of bodily autonomy is I can tell you what not to do. Not just I can tell you what to do, I can tell you what not to do. One thing is, you're allowed to move your hand as much as you want. But if it gets close to my face, I can tell you to stop. So you're not allowed to just willy-nilly do whatever you want with your body, especially if you're going to hurt another human organism. In this case, the other human organism is the fetus. So you're not allowed to use your bodily autonomy just to cause harm to another human organism, no matter how much you want to, for whatever reasons you want. But if you...
And in this case,
if you're trying
just to be clear,
like,
what we're talking about here is that this human organism, this fetus, is causing harm to the pregnant person, whether it means to or wants to or not. So should the pregnant person be allowed to stop the fetus from causing harm by disconnecting it from their body?
Especially
if
knowing that it will cause more harm if you don't, i.e. more symptoms of pregnancy.
You are allowed to end the disconnection as long as you do not have to directly kill the human organism. So if whatever you do doesn't directly kill the human organism, you're allowed to remove yourself from harm. Like that's part of the previous statement.
Sorry, I just that's a whole other thing.
So let me go a little further, because last time I talked to you, Forrest, about this, you brought up something else. So the next step would be, well, great, then I can just disconnect the baby or the fetus, and now they're out, and now they're going to die because they're 12 weeks along. So why can't you do that? The answer would be because once it's out, it's a baby, and it's the responsibility of the parent to keep alive. So whatever choice the parent makes,
no, it's
or
not.
even before.
I have a question. Can we go back to the very, very, very beginning of what you said, Gohan, when you were introducing this hypothetical concept this hypothetical decision that we have to make about creating I forget how you phrased it, an equivalent system of like policing harm done to other people. Can you just repeat, because you had some interesting... The way that you outlined this was interesting, and I want to rehear what you said.
Yes, ma'am. So you should be able to, you should not be able to kill any human organism. You should not be able to directly and purposely kill any human organism unless there's a high enough risk of severe enough harm, and that high risk of severe harm needs to be held equal for all human organisms.
Okay. So, I mean, based on your definition, I think high risk, like pregnancy is by definition high risk. So,
No,
if that's your
it's
definition,
risky. Yes, every pregnancy has risk, but most of that risk is not severe harm. So it's a low harm, high risk.
that's
Usually,
not true.
No.
Most of them.
No,
most of them are. Okay. What is a high risk pregnancy?
pregnancy, I mean, it pulls your bones apart, it moves your organs, it changes your hormonal makeup in your body. That is high risk. Like, tell me
It's
something that a
high risk
man
of
goes
low
through
harm.
that does that to their body that they can't opt out of.
Men get
Oh, there's no
pregnant too.
equivalent.
Men get pregnant too.
Sure.
She's talking about cis
And
men.
Sure. Let's talk about
It
the
is-
Sorry about
male
cis
body.
it is high risk of low harm, and it is low risk of severe harm. But whenever it reaches high risk of severe harm, that is an appropriate time to use lethal force and self-defense.
So,
I just
how about postpartum
Sorry.
depression, which is not something that people will know if they'll experience while they're pregnant? That is something that is extremely high risk that you can proactively assume you might experience. Shouldn't you be able to decide whether or not you want to go through something that might lead to something so severe?
Would you say that level of high risk of severe harm for postpartum depression would allow you to kill a 5-year-old? If the answer is yes, then you could do it for abortion. If the answer is no, then you can't do it for abortion or for a fetus.
Yes, yes. Postpartum depression leads women to kill themselves. It leads women to kill their children. It leads women to do, and anyone who's been pregnant.
But wait a minute. That what you just said is really important, because what you just said, Gohan, is really important, because you said, can you give me an example of when abating postpartum depression would require you to kill a 5-year-old? And you were saying that, I understand, to kind of make this flippant, almost a straw man example, because obviously not what we're saying. But in your framework here, if we had a clinical study that demonstrated that you could actually cure postpartum depression by taking the life of a 5-year-old, you would then say, yeah, this is a self-defense thing here. The parent has to be protected. They have to protect themselves. So all I have to do is just kill this 5-year-old, and and then we're for it.
Sorry.
Or not get pregnant in the first place, or terminate the pregnancy so that they don't have to have a child that they can put in danger.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. You and I, Roxanne, are saying that you should be able to have an abortion because there are unforeseen things during and after pregnancy that you don't want to participate in, that you don't want to put yourself at risk of, things you cannot measure the risk of, therefore you cannot properly mitigate the risk of. But Gohan, your entire premise here is that abortion, which you call directly killing a human organism, should only be allowed if there is actually known to be a high enough risk scenario of hurting the pregnant person, of that they are now acting in so-called self-defense. Based on the example, the facetious example that you just gave of would you have to kill a 5-year-old to fix postpartum, in a scenario where that would help, that would be in favor in your argument. And that's not anything we would ever advocate for.
Okay. So just a couple of things really quick. You guys have been very nice on this call. I was trying not to build a straw man. I asked a question, so I was not building a straw man. I was asking if postpartum depression would justify killing a 5-year-old, because that was part of the thing where a part of my initial statement where it had to be held consistent throughout all human organisms. So I think
so asking again,
I'm not bringing it up as justification of the killing. I'm bringing it up as justification of the abortion. of justification
I'm
of
saying.
terminating the pregnancy, because if you can
So
think, if
if
you can have the
you-
foresight to determine
my
that there's a
point.
high risk involved, i.e. you might develop postpartum depression, which any person has the capacity to develop, then shouldn't I want to remove the risk of that harm to myself and possibly harm to my child by terminating the pregnancy?
That's exactly my point. If you don't see it justifying killing a 5-year-old, then it wouldn't justify killing that same 5-year-old just a little bit younger as a fetus.
But
That's
do
my entire
you
point.
see it as that? If someone
Yeah,
had
so
postpartum, if someone had postpartum
Mhm.
and they were they were going to take their own life because they were so immensely depressed, and guarantee the way to stop it is for them to kill a 5-year-old, do you support it?
Yeah, so even if you have studies showing that like the guaranteed way to stop postpartum is kill your 5-year-old once they're 5, that wouldn't justify it. Yes, that would stop postpartum, but no, that wouldn't justify killing the 5-year-old, which is why I'm also against it to killing that same
and why
5-year-old
not?
as a female.
And why not? Why wouldn't that justify it?
Because that's not high enough risk or severe enough harm to take another human's life.
So the life of the mother's going to kill herself. That is not
What did
a
the
high
mother
enough
die of?
risk.
Did the mother die of postpartum, or did the mother die of self-inflicted wounds in a suicide?
Okay, so now we're playing a semantic game.
No, it's not semantic. I told you at first it has to be that direct cause. You can't say, oh, someone's going to commit suicide, therefore, because
Well, then-
you called them the
then
wrong
you should
pronoun,
be all for.
therefore-
Well, then you should be all for abortion. That isn't a direct cause. Abortion pills that cause the zygote to detach from the uterine lining and be flushed out with the next period. Terminating a pregnancy isn't killing the embryo. It's stopping the embryo from being attached to the pregnant person, and then it dies on its own later. That is not a direct cause.
Sorry, it dies on its own because of the medication
Yep.
you took?
Nope,
Okay,
because
so
you took it
dies
out of your
because
body.
of medication.
The medication you took, the procedure you had, whether it's the suction type of abortion, the medicated type of abortion, whatever, all you did is remove this thing from your body. It can't sustain itself, so it dies.
So
You didn't kill
so
it.
it's still alive
It wasn't a
when it
direct
comes
harm.
out? It's still alive when it comes out?
Yep.
Okay, so I talked about this before, which is why I mentioned it a little bit ago. I'm okay with separating in self-defense as long as we understand that now that the fetus is outside and alive is now technically a baby, and the parents or doctor is responsible for that baby's life and the choices of why that baby's in that situation. So we can all agree that once it's out, it's a baby. So now I think it's very clear we all would be against either letting babies die or putting babies in situations where they will die. Correct?
So
we
then,
can say that?
then your argument is contradictory, because now this is the third time that you have given us a specific circumstance in which you're okay with this, and like, I don't stand for abortion because of this, and then we meet that criteria, and you say, well, actually, now it's this other thing. Really quickly,
No, so
I did just get a text. We've had some folks in the chat saying that you had been banned before, and I didn't know, and I checked on the call screen, or in the backside here, and our producer checked, and I just got this text from Jimmy Snow. It says, ask Gohan if he's been banned. If he doesn't tell the truth, hang up. If he does tell the truth, then we will take him on the show for a super chat of $300. You have also apparently been told, according to Jimmy here, that you're not allowed on if you don't give pronouns. Apparently that's happened. Who knew?
yes, I asked the call screener if I need to give pronouns, and I was allowed without pronouns. So, but
Okay.
if
Well,
I use pronouns-
apparently, it's coming from the owner of the channel here. Apparently, I'm not to let you continue until you give us your pronouns.
okay, Saiyan self. Gohan, I'm a Saiyan.
Got it. All right. See you later, dude.
Men will do anything but be reasonable. Also, that call made my cat throw up. I had to mute while she threw up.
That's great. You should have kept the mic open.
Well, just cat puking in the
It sucks because I had a whole whiteboard full of notes here. I wanted to ask, like, what other situations would you like advocate that someone has no control over their own body? And, you know, what about rape? And what about incest? What about extreme incest where you know this child is going to have a horrible life if they survive at all? What about cases of congenital deformities? What about cases where, you know, I was going to go into all these details, but he changed his own rhetoric 3 or 4 times. And then ended up on a fucking pronoun crash out. So who knows?
I was just curious about in the beginning where he was like, you have to have a set system for how you can kill people. And I'm like, how do you feel about ICE? How do you feel about, like, let's talk about the actual killings being done of actual 5-year-old children rather than your hypothetical version of what a woman is doing because, or what someone who's pregnant is doing because they don't want to have a child. But it's okay.
Yeah, it sucks. And like Gohan has been banned a few times, and he's gotten better. He used to be just fucking violently, crazily, just shitty all the time. Every time he called in, it was like fucking, you know, just a screaming match. And the past couple of times called in, he's been like very calm and quiet and able to have a conversation, but apparently hasn't grown as a person with the pronoun things. And apparently, I didn't realize I wouldn't have taken the call if I had known he had been banned before. But who knows, man? We have a few other calls waiting on the line. Still, we have, let's see here, we have 2 theists who want to talk about spiritual stuff. One person wants to talk about fine-tuning. One person wants to talk about possession. Is that the one that just puked?
Yep.
Gross.
She needs to be held now.
You
have something to say.
Yeah, it's blah. But we have the person who wanted to talk about possession hung up. But we have one person who wants to talk about fine tuning, and then we have somebody who's a leftist who wants to talk about equal rights and defense of different ideas. And one person who is still waiting to ask a question about evolution. That will be a very late call because it's just a science question, and we take combative calls first. Still nobody who wants to talk about gender and psychology and stuff. Surprising enough.
Except for the chiropractor.
Let's talk to. I actually want to see. We're gonna get to the theist next, unless somebody else calls in. But this person says Forrest once stated that he would stand up for Christian rights. What do you mean by that, Brooke? You're on the line with Forrest and Roxanne. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Right on. Would you like to tell us exactly what you're calling in about? Because that's what I've got on the call screen here.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a lady. It was a long time ago. But it's kind of stuck with me. Well, you made the claim that you would stand up for Christian rights, which to an extent makes sense. But I just wanted to ask, would you support a law like the China has where you can't teach kids religion until 18?
Probably not. I'm putting in also in the we have the little cycling thing of debate topics down there. I'm adding in abortion all 9 months just in honor of Gohan. I'm putting that in the bottom there, so that'll cycle through as well. Yeah, probably not, because that is, even though I am quite certain that I know what's true, I'm not going to force people to raise their kids a certain way. I'll pass laws that you can't physically abuse your kids and mentally abuse your kids and all these other things. And I understand the arguments that religious teachings cause mental harm, but I would need data on that to point to make a kind of claim like that and make a legal claim like that. As long as you're not, I would strongly disagree with it, and I would strongly reject it, and I would strongly oppose it. But if someone is actually trying to take away someone's rights as a parent or as a Christian, I have just as much problem as that with to do with anything else. What about you, Roxanne?
I honestly wasn't listening. I was preoccupied with my cat.
Do you think that we should legally ban parents from raising their kids with religion and teaching their kids religion early on, and they have to wait until they're 18 to learn about religion?
Yes. I will
You
not
think
be
we should ban?
elaborating.
Okay. Hey, we have a disagreement between hosts.
Because I don't think parents are equipped to teach religion. I think parents are equipped to teach their versions of a belief system. Is your parent a theologist? Like, I guess I'm thinking more so like beyond parents. I was just having this conversation with a friend who's putting her kid in public school, and like they're reading a story from the Bible in an English class, and she very much feels that shouldn't take place in a public school. And so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a child is going to be raised with a belief system that is imparted on them by their family and their social circles. I think those values are likely going to reflect religious principles because we live in a Western primarily culture where that tends to be kind of the guiding principles of our daily life. But I think it's unethical to indoctrinate children into religion.
I agree that it's unethical. The question that I would the line that I have here is that when you say it's illegal, are you applying those same standards then to anything else that you might teach your children? If someone from the South teaches their children history and talks about the war of northern aggression and all this other shit, I think they're wrong, and I think they're stupid, and I think they're harming their kid. But I'm not going to say the parent should be legally disallowed to teach their children history unless they teach them this way because you're not an historian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that when you put restrictions like that,
Sure.
you are making a whip for your own back without realizing.
Sure. I guess, yes, I see the point about legality. I just think it's very wrong. And I don't
agree that it's very wrong. I agree that it's very wrong.
Sure.
I just don't think it should be illegal.
Sure. Can't be illegal.
That's where we're at, Brooke, is we both agree with you that it's incredibly harmful and that it shouldn't be done. But I can't make the leap to say it should be illegal because inevitably, if I'm not a parent, but if I was, there's not a single fucking person that I would trust to make laws about how I should raise my child, unless it is like, don't beat them, don't starve them, don't abuse these types of things. And you would need data to back these things up. So that's where I'm at with it. Do you disagree with us? And if so, why?
I think there could be an argument to say that it's abusive.
Sure.
And we can't abuse our children, so I could see where laws could come in and stop it.
How do you enforce that law?
I think all kids should be in therapy.
Okay. How do you get enough therapists?
Do what?
How do you get enough therapists? And also, should all kids be required to do any other kind of thing? Because if you don't take a kid to a doctor ever, that's not illegal. It's not a good idea. But you could just be a Christian Scientist or somebody.
It could be considered child neglect.
I agree. But to have a requirement on it would then also require somebody to keep track of that requirement, and somebody to meet that requirement, and somebody to enforce and punish enforce this new law and punish those who don't meet that requirement. That's a lot of ask. And what happens if that kid sees a billboard about religion, sees a Christian TV show or radio station about this stuff, finds a Bible at the library where they're studying and whatever like that, and says to the therapist something about Jesus? Do we then investigate the parents? Do the parents go to prison? How do we enforce this?
Yeah, I suppose. It could be difficult.
And then are there any other situations in which you would think that thought crime should be a major punishment, that this kid has been given the wrong thoughts and therefore their parents must be punished? Like I said, if a parent teaches the kid about the war of northern aggression and that kid turns out to be racist and shitty as a result, I would agree the same way here. That kid was abused and taught some bullshit by their parents. Are the parents now in trouble? What if the parents are anti-vax and they teach the kids about how vaccines are wrong? What if the parents are flat earthers and teach the kid about how the earth is flat and that's not approved science? What if the parents are racist? What if the parents are bigoted and they teach those things to their children? Do we have these therapists that every kid has to go to evaluate to make sure the children has only state-approved thoughts and opinions, and otherwise the parents are thrown in the slammer? How does that work? Do you see the issues that I'm having here, Brooke?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So I agree wholeheartedly with you that it is wrong to teach your children that they're going to go to hell, and it is wrong to teach your children these things. I was taught Christianity as well as Islam and Hinduism and all sorts of other mythologies, Norse mythology and Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology and all these different things. I was taught all this stuff as a kid, and it made me a better atheist. So, yeah, I think there's a major issue with trying to put a law on that. Anyway, with that, we have the caller that we have been looking for, someone who wants to talk about trans people. So I'm going to move on to that call, but I appreciate you, Brooke.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Are you excited? Because I'm excited.
I'm curious. I'm curious about what they're gonna ask. Considering
We have
trans is a-
Sharik, who is confused about trans people and wants some clarification. It does say trans in quotes, but I don't know who put that there. Sharik, you are on the line with Forrest and Roxanne. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Never had a bad day, dude.
Wow.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can.
All right, awesome. Yeah, the reason I called is, I don't know, I've just heard, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I've heard your guys' argument about what trans people are, whatever, and it kind of doesn't make sense. It's kind of anti-feminist to me, so it's just a little weird. So maybe I will explain how I understand what you guys think, and then you can correct me. Is that okay?
Sure. Or we can discuss. I don't have to just correct you. We'll just discuss it.
Sure,
And if you think we're saying anything untoward, I want you to call me out on it.
Okay, for sure. So, from what I understand, there is a certain percentage of the population that is legitimately, like, they have some sort of development phenotypic chromosomal issues. So then, like, for those people, I totally understand if there's, like, some intersex stuff going on over time, they need to change, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get that. I'm looking at the statistics, and about only 0.018% of the population suffers those kind of physical conditions. I'm not saying, oh, it's a small population, they don't matter. I'm looking at the stats right now. It's from PubMed. We can go over the stats.
Yeah, you're looking at SACS. You're looking at SACS, that paper by SACS from a few years ago. And
okay,
just out of here.
Okay, we can.
So.
I'm sorry. Can I just finish? We can argue over the exact.
Sure, but you now have two things that we need to discuss as wrong.
Sure. We'll go through it. Let me just finish the argument, okay? We can argue about the exact statistics later. All right. So what I'm trying to understand is the discrepancy between people that have these physical conditions versus the percentage of people that just self-identify as transgender. The people that self-identify is way higher than the people that actually have legitimate issues. And what I don't understand is the whole self-identification part of it. To me, it's anti-feminist because it feels like for the past 100 years, women have been fighting to say, hey, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I like to play with dolls. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I have to sit in the kitchen all day. So all these things that have been traditionally associated with women, they've been fighting for the past 100, 200 years to be disassociated from that. And now we have this whole movement of men coming up and saying, hey, I like to play with dolls. I like to put on a dress. I must be a woman. But we just had 100 years of women fighting against that. So that's what I don't understand.
Roxanne, do you want to start or do you want me to start? Because I've got 5 major issues here that I'd like to
I
jump
think
into.
first we should address the stats of the prevalence and disaggregate folks that have actual biological intersex conditions versus being transgender, which is not always aligned to physical and biological and genetic components.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's my first thing here, which is that being trans and being intersex are different things, and you are conflating them here and saying there's some people that are legitimately intersex, but then trans people are like just pretending. These are completely different categories. Being intersex has nothing to do with being trans. They do overlap as you know anything would, but that's different. The second thing you put in here were those statistics where you said 0.018%. So the actual number is 1.7%. That's what was agreed upon.
Okay, and according to your statistics, Forrest, 1.7% is the people that have physical complications, right?
Nope. That's literally just the total prevalence of intersex conditions, differences and of differences of sexual development, disorders of sexual development, intersex conditions.
Okay,
these are all different ways to say the same thing over the history of time. And the reason it's 1.7%, which I am still in the middle of speaking, it's 1.7%, which was the number that like literally the UN and the World Health Organization all agree on. 0.0, I am still in the middle of speaking. I'm still in the middle of speaking. The 0.018% statistic, the 0.018% statistic comes from a paper by this guy named Sachs a few years ago, and it's become very popular in anti-trans circles in order to argue that intersex people are a significantly lower percent of the population. The issue is he gets that number by leaving out tons and tons of people that anybody who didn't look at his actual paper would all wholeheartedly agree are intersex. For example, Klinefelter syndrome. If somebody has XXY chromosomes, this paper says they're not actually intersex. He says the only people that are intersex, the people that he classifies, are only people where there's just chromosomes, not even genes, just their chromosomal makeup and their external genitalia are in disalignment. And only those cases can we call people intersex. So congenital adrenal hyperplasia, Giva-Doce people, like all these different scenarios don't actually count, even though everybody would know that those people are intersex. So your numbers are bad and your categorization is bad. The next thing you talked about was self-ID. That is not the basis on which we determine who is and is not, or the way that we define people who are trans. Nor is it how we define who is what gender. It's just self-reporting, which is something that we rely on in every facet of society. It's not unique to gender in any capacity. We actually can define these terms and break them down in ways that are both accurate and inclusive that you are missing. And then I am still in the middle of speaking. I let you finish your entire argument. I am still responding to the first silly things that you said. So your whole thing here about self-identification and how we're all just letting any man say, I want to be a woman, that's not true. Nor is it true to say that men say they want to be women because they identify with feminine stereotypes. I want to play with dresses. I want to be in the kitchen. I want to play with dolls. Therefore, also not true. Not even remotely. So you have a gross misrepresentation of what gender is, what it means to be trans, how we know who is and is not trans, and how we define genders, as well as the statistics behind intersex people. Roxanne, do you have anything to add to all that? Because those are just the first 5 things that I have issues with.
No, I think that does a good job. I think that the intersex conversation is really just not related to this at all, and that it
really isn't
a conflation. But if the point was to suggest that it's a very small subset of the population, I also know that like a lot of folks don't realize that they have an intersex condition. Like isn't it the same percentage of the population that has red hair is intersex? Like
something like that, yeah.
It's something like that.
The percentage of the population doesn't matter. It's the discrepancy between people that have physical issues, whatever they may be, the 1.7%,
It's not
I mean,
okay.
people who are
I don't think we should
self-identified.
call it a physical issue for first. I would like to just
Okay.
Yeah.
say that. Okay, so a discrepancy between people who have some type of intersex condition and a completely different subset of people who identify as transgender. That's your concern?
And I would bet whatever study you want to pull up, the people that self-identify vastly outnumber the people that have intersex issues.
But they're
Right.
not the same
But
people.
those are different things.
So
Like, the people,
Right,
the
they-
people who are
but listen,
transgender
listen,
vastly
you
outnumber the
might
people who get
understand
LASIK eye surgery. Therefore, what?
You-
Like, what is that?
You might understand that because you're a biologist and you have like more details in it, but like a regular person in society, they're not seeing those kind of differences, right?
so
Like,
Who
they're
cares?
just seeing it all as one group of people. I
Regular
understand that
people in
for
society
you,
don't
you're a
believe in
biologist.
evolution or the age of the earth. Who gives a shit?
my question is, are you suggesting that that people who self-identify as transgender are also all
bullshit.
intersex people?
Are complete bullshitting. They're absolute bullshitters. All of them. Complete bullshit.
So your assumption is that you can only be transgender if you have an intersex condition. Is that what you think is true?
If there's some legitimate concern to your health because of some biological issue you have, 100% I'm with you. Go for it. Do what you got to do. But if it's just the fact that you feel like you're a bit more of a feminine man, or you've always felt closer to the girls in your class versus the boys in your okay, good for you, bro. That doesn't mean you get to start calling yourself a woman.
Yeah, no, I just want to be very clear that literally nobody is saying that should be the case. You are arguing with a straw man that somebody told you on
That's also
Twitter.
not what trans people say their experience is.
Right. That's nobody here is nobody,
Yeah.
including those of us who do understand the science, is saying that a slightly more feminine man just decides that he's actually a woman. That's not how
Right.
that works at all. That's not what being
Isn't
trans
it-
is. You
a-
are just arguing with the straw man.
Right.
Isn't one of the hosts of this show trans? And they post videos of themselves jerking off on the internet with their dick?
You're asking if the hosts of this show do this? No.
No. There is a host in this show.
And
Are
you suggesting that one of our hosts might have an OnlyFans? Because that's probably true.
No. I think you know who I'm talking about.
And is there an issue with one of our hosts having an OnlyFans account?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to call that person a woman. When they're
So your issue is you're just attacking one individual person because you find it confusing that a woman might have a penis.
No, you just said that men that were a little feminine don't consider themselves trans, and then I just gave you an example of someone who's clearly a man who considers himself a woman.
No, you gave an example of a woman with a penis because you think that automatically means man, because you still don't know what these things are.
Listen to the sentence you just said.
There it is.
Okay.
No,
I
thank you, Sharik. I actually appreciate that.
Thank you,
because
I understand
because
you make no sense.
Yeah,
have a good night.
Sharik. He's a little bitch and he hung up. Thank you so much, Sharik, for demonstrating exactly where your actual line of thought is. Don't you get it? It has to be but don't you hear yourself? It's just this thing. It sounds confusing to you. It's a new concept that you haven't thought of before. And you have two scientists on the phone who are ready, willing, and able, doing this whole show to give you information, to give you studies, to give you data.
I didn't even get to tell him that I recently learned that I'm intersex. Do you think he would have freaked? Yeah.
Oh my glob, dude.
When you mentioned congenital adrenal hyperplasia, I was recently diagnosed with that. Didn't even know it was an intersex condition. And
Fucking
I'm like,
interesting.
And so many people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted him, I wanted to make him feel uncomfortable.
I wanted to ask him to define woman, because I don't think he can, because trans folks don't know what the fuck a woman is. And I wanted to ask him about the fact that if we actually go by the real numbers of intersex conditions, we're talking about 136 million people. And I want to know what his thoughts are on that. But Sharik is a little bitch who just fucking hung up when he heard a thought that he thought was icky. We are literally here to define these things for you.
Not him just thinking about someone stroking their penis.
Jerking off and everything. Yeah. Oh my God. Don't you know that on this line, one of the hosts on this channel has an OnlyFans account? Any other situation where you think that that's an interesting talking point? Any reason you brought that up besides just to make a dumbass personal attack on somebody? What's going on with that?
He just wanted to think about penis.
I think that just like most transphobes, that dude thinks about girl cock all day long and wanted to call in and tell the world about it. So here we are. Thanks, Sharik. If Sharik grows a spine and would like to call back and actually have an adult conversation, we would love to talk to him again. Feel free to pick up that phone, little bitch, 720-619-2288.
Wow.
Let's talk to... Okay, real question for you, because you're also on here, all right? You're also one of the hosts. We still don't have, a call about gender that's serious, but... we have an abortion one again. We have somebody saying that atheists are actually pagans, even though they don't realize it. And we have a literal Nazi. Would you like to talk to any of those three people?
I'm interested in John. I'm not gonna lie. I think we could have a broad conversation with him.
Literal Nazi it is. It's Nazi John from Arizona. Welcome back to the show. You're on with Forrest and Roxanne. How are you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, man. Roxanne, I'm going to let you have fun with John because I have nothing interesting to say to John. He fucking sucks. But I would love to hear John tell you about how, what is it? The left is destroying Western civilization, which is the newest dog whistle that he loves.
Yeah, look, this is all my personal opinion. This has to do with postmodernism and the Frankfurt School and Hollywood and MTV. And I know it's
literally. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting already because literally, it's very funny. I was about to tell Roxanne. I was literally about to tell you, Roxanne, he's gonna open with a shit ton of dog whistles, and then he fucking me. He immediately opens with the Frankfurt School and Hollywood and Western civilization and all these other things.
I don't even know what is the.
It means Jews. It means Jews.
Oh.
When he says the Frankfurt School, it means the Jewish cabal that are running the world and how the Jews own the banks and the media and all the things. Sorry, go ahead, John. Say your dumb Nazi shit.
Okay, look, the Frankfurt School is a political ideology. It's actually a building in Frankfurt, Germany, but it's a political ideology that came out of Germany in the 1930s. All right, it's some of the major leaders was Horkheimer and Marcuse. Okay, Marcuse wrote Eros and Civilization in the 1950s, and he also wrote Repressive Tolerance in 1955. And this is the foundation, of course. It's noises you're making. This is childish, man. The
what noises?
Repressive tolerance.
Sorry, are you hearing noises? I didn't. What?
You have no tact, man. Fucking weirdo.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, that was me. I'm fat, ugly, and very gassy.
Fat, ugly, and flatulent.
Oh, all right. It wasn't for. Well, Forrest, we're doing that. Talked last time, but I assumed it was you. I'm not looking at you. I'm just talking on the phone. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well let me explain. Okay, so Eros and Civilization. What did Marcuse? Okay, this is the foundation. All right. Let me know when you want to be serious. Okay.
Oh, I'm extremely serious. That's why I don't fucking care about Nazis.
The definition of a Nazi, like a woman.
Go on. What else?
This ain't serious, man. I'm just gonna hang up.
You were saying? What was that?
Talk to me about the left.
Okay, why don't you stop playing?
What was it?
Can you stop playing those noises, please?
What noises?
Stop playing those noises.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Never fucking. Okay, well, am I hearing things? I don't know.
I don't know. You're fucking, it could be anything. You already fucking believe that races are real and that trans people don't exist and something about how you're big and strong and white and can beat us all in a fight and also other fucking crazy hysterical bullshit. So maybe you believe you're hearing things too. Who knows?
But none of that is about the left.
Forrest,
Tell me about the
The
left.
left.
Tell me about the left.
You were
What am
provoking-
What's
what am
going
I
on with the
doing?
left? What are the left doing?
The left is subverting Western civilization. Look, from what I was trying to explain, come on, man, this is fucking childish for it.
What are we saying?
I don't know
What's
which one he's doing.
What's Western civilization?
Western civilization is Western Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, how old are you, man? Like fucking, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
So childish, dude. Trying to have a serious conversation.
I am extremely serious about this conversation. I don't know what you're talking
You're
about.
acting like a fucking. You're acting like a 3-year-old.
I mean, 3-year-olds are smarter than
fucking
Nazis,
noises.
so that makes me feel pretty good.
Well, we talked about IQ last time, all right, but
Yeah,
Friend,
you
well,
were
let's have a
wrong
serious-
about IQ, and you didn't know anything about it, and you were corrected multiple times on the shit that you believed about it by 2 scientists who actually backed up what they were saying by studies. And then you crashed out and told me that I don't even lift and that you're going to beat me in a fight because you're big and strong and your skin is so white that you'll win every fight you're ever in, right?
No, I don't think I agree with that.
What was that? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I
Oh,
just
fucking
want John to
stupid, dude.
outline what is wrong with Western civilization today and then map it
Yeah.
on to the left.
They have a.
I would love to know why Western civilization is simultaneously so incredibly powerful and amazing and robust that it was able to conquer the whole world and bring about the modern age of everything that's good about everything, but is also so fragile and weak that it will be so easily destroyed by things like race mixing and people having rights and women having jobs and trans people existing and all these other really simple things that just makes people more equal. Even Jewish people.
There's an exponential increase in trans. It's just quit playing these fucking noises, dude. It's so loud.
All right, John. No, I'm just joking with you. I will actually be serious now. You now can say whatever you want. I will shut up. I will stop playing noises. Go ahead, John. What do you actually want to say?
Yeah, the
Anyway, that was John. So now let's go ahead and take another call. And this one, I actually want to hear what Roxanne has to say about it, is Sylvia, who wants to talk about abortion again. Sylvia, you're on the line with Forrest and Roxanne. How you doing today?
Doing well, thanks. How about you?
I'm all right.
I'm a little gassy.
Okay. I just got to say, I don't know, call me a snob, but I thought that was... Look, I hate Nazis as much as the next person. I'm trans. They would have probably killed me. But, just playing fart noises is... Anyways. Okay, so going to my
Really
question...
funny, right? It's really funny, because that's exactly as much seriousness as that little bitch deserves. John calls in all the time with all sorts of bigoted hateful bullshit, and that is exactly as serious as anybody should take him. Anyway,
Okay.
We didn't get into it. I know, Roxanne, you were interested in hearing some of it, but certain people I'm just not going to platform. Anyway, I would love to actually talk about what you say, Sylvia.
Yeah, okay, so the 9-month thing, it's like plenty of babies come out at 7 months, and plenty of them come out late at 10 months, right? So, why do you take the expected gestation period and say it's okay to abort before then, but as soon as it breaks the uterine wall, then all of a sudden it's evil to abort the baby? Or I don't know if you say it's evil, but it's illegal.
Which is that not so you can have, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, you can just induce labor early on and get that baby out of there. But at the end of the day, an abortion later on in pregnancy is not a happy decision. It's not something people do casually. It's not something that people do because they just suddenly realize, fuck it, whatever like that. And that right should be protected because their lives are still in danger. What do you think,
Right.
Roxanne?
Okay, so
My understanding is that I have some stats up that I just pulled because I wanted to make sure I was speaking accurately. My understanding is that only about 1% of abortions happen after the 21-week mark, that over 90% happen in the first trimester, right? And that when in those rare instances, it's usually because there is a major abnormality that would lead to that fetus not surviving on its own, or a life-threatening health risk to the person who is pregnant. So are we on the same page about that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so
okay.
Yeah, okay, so in the European Union, for example, they have a trimester by trimester rule. Like, I'm not sure if this is all of the EU countries or just some of them, but anyways, the first trimester, you have full control. You could just walk into a clinic and have the procedure done. Second trimester, you have to get, I think you have to get an interview with a psychologist, and they want to make sure you're really, you really have a good reason for it. And then the third trimester, it's not allowed unless there's a major health emergency. Like if having the baby will kill the mother, then I'm sure they'll let that happen, right? So I guess my big qualm with that, with your argument, is that I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I don't know what the abortion laws are down there. But
not so good.
Yeah, I know. It's like state by state. Some of them are just ban it completely, right? But for the states where it's allowed, I guess maybe you can tell me, what is the regulation when you have a third trimester abortion?
Well, I'm gonna Google that for you.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Let's see. So it seems like a handful of states have no limits set by law, meaning abortion remains legal throughout the pregnancy, including the third trimester, if decided by a patient and their healthcare provider. DC, Colorado, New Mexico, New Jersey, Oregon, Vermont, Michigan. Exceptions are legally permitted in other states that have limits if a physician determines the continuation of the pregnancy poses a risk to the patient's life or physical/mental health. So, what's the question?
Did I freeze? Or is everyone just done?
I think Roxanne
your
froze.
video's frozen.
Roxanne froze and then Sylvia dropped.
Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you see me?
It looks like the whole screen just died.
Your screen died, but now you're back.
Yeah, Roxanne, your video is frozen and glitchy.
Okay, let me
see if
Can
we're
you hear
still
me though,
live,
still?
because I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, I see that my video is frozen. Let's see. Oh, am I back? I'm back.
It shows that we're live for me.
Yeah.
No. Am I back?
Yeah, we're getting some comments, people saying rip stream and whatnot. And I'm the only one who
Am I
didn't
back?
freeze. I think you're back. Yes, you look back.
But I saw you frozen on my screen, which was weird. But did Sylvia drop?
I think Sylvia dropped, yeah, but hold on a second. We might be able to...
Rest in peace.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it looks like the live stream, I look beautiful the entire time, as always. And you exploded for a minute, but I don't see Sylvia back in the queue. So we're going to move on. But if Sylvia calls back in, then we will talk to Sylvia again. Also, just going to reiterate, hey, you looked way better now. Whatever you just did was great.
It's my brand new laptop and all the fucked up settings in Zoom that I haven't been able to change.
We've got still lines open, by the way. I'm going to say it again. We're still taking calls. So 720-619-2288. If you want to talk to a biologist and a psychologist about gender stuff, we're here to make you woke. So pick up that phone and let's talk about woke things. Let's talk to Simru.
Call in back if you want to continue that real quick.
Oh, hey. All right, Sylvia. Sylvia, you're back.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. I'm calling on my phone and it just died. Where were we?
The Internet Explorer.
Abortion laws in the U.S.
I asked what your question was because it's unclear to me what you want to chat about.
Yeah, okay, so I guess what I want to chat about is the whole abortion debate is like a lot of arguments I've heard have been in utero versus out of utero. It's like you decide it's let me start over.
What is an out?
There's not enough nuance. Okay, ignore that statement. Sorry,
okay,
that was confusing.
I'm ignoring.
There's not enough nuance in the debate. Whereas, like in the EU, every trimester has different rules, right? Like as I mentioned before, in third trimester, it has to be like a very serious health problem for women to have abortions. But in second and first trimester, it's much more streamlined. So yeah, I guess like that is my moral views are aligned with the EU way of doing things, I suppose. But I don't know if that's a controversial take for you or not. Like maybe I've just heard the extreme arguments and that's not what reasonable people actually think. But what do you think?
I think I'm still confused. Like I think there are different guidelines usually for different trimesters because it's different phases of pregnancy and different potential risks and ease at which you can terminate a pregnancy. So, and I also, right. I mean, people are blowing up the chat, and I think this is important to note is that like if you're at a certain point and a fetus is viable in a third trimester and there's some life-threatening situation to the parent, but the fetus is viable, that will just be an early birth. Like it's not infanticide. It's not like they're delivering this infant and then killing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not sure.
In your view, okay, in your view, what is the difference between infanticide and abortion?
In my personal view, that's a great question. I guess it's potential viability of the fetus/human situation. But I think ultimately at any point throughout the pregnancy, the pregnant person has the ability to make a decision if they want the pregnancy to continue. That's my stance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
I'm exactly the same way. I'm sorry, I've been tuning in and out because I was trying to fix the thing over here. But like, yeah, no, I'm exactly the same way. Is that if you are pregnant, you should be able to decide whether or not you're pregnant anymore. You can decide whether or not you get pregnant on purpose, if you get pregnant by accident, or even if you get pregnant on purpose and you just decide not to be, you always get to decide what's happening in your body. So it's not infanticide unless it is an infant. And an infant is, as far as I know, definitionally something that has been born before.
Right.
So why?
So like if you're in the latest part of your pregnancy, the only way, and we're taking abortion to mean like this baby is dying and all this, you could just remove this baby and it could potentially survive on its own in a NICU. You don't have to, be out here stabbing it with a sacrificial ceremonial dagger to if I can summon Satan or whatever the other thing. You just don't be pregnant anymore. But if it does result in the death of this baby, and then that's an even more extreme case, that just sounds to me like a really ridiculous medical situation that I don't want to heap a bunch of legal bullshit on top of. This person is clearly going through a lot, and they should be allowed to do that thing.
Or that I feel comfortable as like a hypothetical person deciding what is and isn't in that instance acceptable. Like, I think it's, my understanding is that it is very, very rare for someone to carry a pregnancy for 9 months and then decide like, no, I don't want it anymore. Like, that isn't typically how people operate. And then there are, I think, extreme loops and hoops to jump through if you are pursuing a third trimester abortion.
Like, have you ever talked to people with borderline personality disorder, for example? Like, they make very sporadic, spontaneous decisions, right? So,
Perhaps,
like, I could see somebody with BPL or BPD.
Does that limit their right to bodily autonomy?
Or to get pregnant?
Well, okay, I'm talking specifically about, like, let's say at 8 months or something, right?
Right, but like, why not at any other time? Should a person with the borderline personality disorder have their tubes tied just in case they make a spontaneous decision to have pregnancy and then abort it at a time that you don't think is appropriate?
Of course not.
Or should we just say they have the same right to bodily autonomy all the time, and if their decision is sporadic and a bad decision, it is still their decision?
Okay, so my problem with your stance is, like I said before, in the EU, in the third trimester, it has to be very serious medical problem. In second trimester, you have to see a psychologist and, make sure make sure you're not being forced or coerced into it or whatever, or something like that. And then first trimester, completely up to the parent. And leaving it completely up to a parent, like any random parent in the US, to decide that in the third trimester makes me uncomfortable. Like, I guess going to my...
That's not how it is in the US. In the US, third trimester abortions, like, it has to be a decision with your medical team and your doctor.
Oh, so you do have those regulations in place.
That's my understanding. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it works. If someone goes to their doctor and says, I would like an abortion, please, what then has to be done?
I would say also your argument literally ended with the words, "This makes me uncomfortable." And my response to you is the exact same as anybody else who ever says anything should be a legal decision because it makes them uncomfortable. Even if it's something I agree with, I would say that's a dumb argument. That's not a reason to regulate something. That's not a reason to ban something. That's not a reason to take away somebody's rights. There's lots of things that make me uncomfortable that people are allowed to do, and I'm fine with them doing it because I want to make sure they have the right.
Sure.
Literally less than 1% of cases. Like, this is obviously not something that people are pursuing in mass.
Yeah, like I said before, I think I cut out when I said this, but like, nobody is all excited to go get an abortion. And if you are, I think you need some help. But like, obviously,
I would be excited to get an abortion.
99.99%.
I don't want a child.
I'd be over the moon.
I'd be very excited for.
I mean, I'm sure it's not something you would want to go and like. What I'm saying is, I doubt that's on your bucket list. Like, if you unintentionally get pregnant and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to get an abortion now because I don't want a kid.
If I could do it,
but like, you would
If
want
my wife
to
got
get pregnant
if my
so you could get an abortion.
If my wife got pregnant, I would be very, very happy to go get an abortion, because in the same way that, like, if somebody fucking, broke, my garage door, and then we get a new garage door, I'm happy about that happening because it's fixing a problem and it's improving our lives. And I would be thrilled for the fact that I live in a place where I'm able to do that. And I would celebrate that in comparison to the fact that I know there's a lot of places where people can't do that. And I would feel very fortunate. And I would probably, in order to balance out the trauma of such a thing, because it's not a comfortable experience emotionally or physically, I would try to make it fun. And we would smile about it. And we would make it an event. And we would buy fancy pajamas and go out to eat and all sorts of things about it. Like, I don't know, dude. It's just not.
I guess I'm just still confused.
I don't give a fuck what people feel about it. I don't give a fuck how people want to do it. I don't give a fuck if people want to use it. If people want to use it as birth control, I don't care what. I think people should have the right to decide what happens to their body. And if we put a limit on it anywhere, then we have to acknowledge that that is an arbitrary limit, and we could move it somewhere else. And it is the definition of a slippery slope that could hurt people. It's just not reasonable. And we are making, as I said earlier, the same way it's like when that caller said we should, disallow parents from teaching their children religion. If we're going to put a thing, say you're not allowed to have control over your own body in this situation, then that is making a lash for your own back. And now that's just because I didn't lose any rights here doesn't mean the exact same process can't take away my rights in the future. It's just not reasonable. People should have the right to do their own, take care of their own bodies the way they see fit. No one has the right to use your body against your will at all, period. There are plenty of ways that late to terminate a pregnancy without killing this embryo, fetus, baby, whatever you're calling it at this moment. And if you're getting enough abortions to get a loyalty card out of it, that's your business, not mine.
Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I just don't have such a very it's very strange to me, but like abortions in Canada are illegal all the time anyway, so maybe your reaction is just strong because of all the bullshit in the US right now. But anyways, okay, so going back to like the time since conception where you can abort. So my priors are that there is some point in time between conception and, I don't know, 20 years old where a human has rights, right? And I view them as humans all the way through, even though, but my perspective is that under a certain age,
Am I frozen
they're
again?
barely developed.
Hello?
Yes and no. You keep popping in and out.
Me?
No, Roxanne.
Am I popping in and out? Okay.
No, Roxanne is frozen and then not frozen because her new laptop is sexist and is fighting against her.
Am I back?
You are back.
Why is that happening?
Classic.
Sorry.
Anyway, what did you just say? You said something about how we get rights at different times?
Yes. Okay. Well, so at some point, my position is humans should have rights. From conception to 18 years old. I don't know. My gut, I guess, tells me when the fetus or baby starts having some semblance of cognition going on. I'm not I don't believe in souls. I guess I'm atheist, but some people call me spiritualist. But anyways, on my stance is that at some point we kind of just have to draw a line, right? Because I think it was Steven Pinker who made an argument that it should be legal to commit infanticide. I think it was Steven Pinker. I'm not sure, but I think it was him who argued that up to 2 years old you should be able to commit infanticide, right? And that is much more jarring to me than a 9-month-old fetus, because a 9-month-old fetus is, stuff is going on in their head, but it's not very complicated, right? like at 2 years old, like, you know, he presents an argument for it, but it sounds like much more alarming to me.
So that sounds about as stupid as a lot of other things that Steven Pinker has said. Notable transphobic bigot Steven Pinker said something really dumb about infanticide. Neat. What about it?
Like, I think
Okay,
their
so
argument
when-
is
like,
fundamentally getting to viability, but I can't tell.
No, I don't think viability is a good thing to do, because, you know, like, I have a month-old nephew right now, and he is not, like, if you leave him alone in the woods, he's going to die. He is not viable on his own. He needs his mother or someone else to take care of him, right? So I don't like the idea of saying viability is where you could draw the line, because, you know, you could argue a kid isn't viable until 2 years old, right? My stance is more.
I think that's self-sufficient rather than viable. I'm thinking, can it breathe on its own, and are its organs gonna not fail? Like,
well, I mean, I'm living with my family, like my brother's family right now, and, you know, breathing is actually something my nephew had to learn. You know, it's like in the first couple of weeks, it's like he struggled to breathe a lot of the time, and he, you know, randomly, it would seem like he just stops breathing, and then he, like, has this big gasp. So, like, you can barely breathe in the first week, right?
Okay.
So anyways, okay, one of the books I really like is I Am a Strange Loop by Douglas Hofstadter.
Okay.
He talked about solidness, right? Like you know, obviously it's kind of a loosey-goosey thing, but you could say a adult human has one soul. A dog has like 0.1 of a soul, and like this is all based on its emotional and cognitive capacities, right? So under that framework, which I think makes a lot of sense to me, a early fetus would have a very low solidness. As they age, that increases until they're a full adult, and then they become one soul, basically, right?
Okay, why not just say consciousness?
I don't really like the term consciousness.
Okay.
I've heard too many definitions of it.
Okay, not consciousness, awareness. Ability to understand and reflect upon and react to the world around it in a meaningful and in definitive and deliberate way. Something that is beyond simple cell dynamics. Does it have a mind?
Sure. I mean,
does it have perception?
I mean, a dog has a mind and perception, but we don't give them equal rights with humans.
I didn't say we should. We're talking about babies here. So what is the actual argument here to say that before a child is born, that they are exactly the same in terms of conscious ability, cognitive ability, ability to perceive or experience pain or joy?
That's not what I said.
I didn't say that's what you said. I'm trying to get back to the actual point. We're talking about abortion and when somebody should be allowed to have it. Should somebody be allowed to have an abortion at any time during their pregnancy at all, ever?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there a limit to that? Is there a certain time when a person is pregnant that they should not be allowed to have an abortion?
As the pregnancy goes on further, there should be more regulation and seriousness taken about it.
Nobody said there shouldn't. We're asking, should they be allowed to have an abortion?
Yes.
Okay, then we're good. We're all on the same page. You should always be allowed to have an abortion. If you are pregnant and you don't want to be anymore, whatever that reason may be, you should be allowed to terminate your pregnancy. And as we go further along in pregnancy, that should be a more and more serious decision. And you're going to have to talk about it with a medical professional. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to have something growing in your body, you don't have to.
Okay. I think I watched too many extremist debates, but what you're saying is basically the exact
there
same
are
thing.
always going to be extreme situations. There are always going to be extreme situations. If you regulate things based on those extreme situations, then the rest of the 99% of the time, when people are just trying to have control over their own body, those people are being unnecessarily and unjustifiably hurt. And I encourage you not to take advice from fucking Steven Pinker on this topic.
A man. Why would a man be there?
Well, a transphobic man, no less.
Mm-hmm.
A transphobic man who backed out, who fucking resigned from the board of the Freedom from Religion Foundation because his transphobic friend Jerry Coyne wasn't allowed to keep a transphobic ass article up where he said that trans women shouldn't be allowed to be therapists or doctors because they're all sex criminals.
Oh my god. When did this happen? Okay, because I used to listen to Steven Pinker's stuff like a long time ago, like 10 years ago or something. Like, when did he start being insane?
Like a couple of years ago.
Forever.
I don't know if he was insane the whole time. I never listened to Steven Pinker on too much. I think I've heard of him 3 times. But he, Dawkins, and Coyne were all on the board of the FFRF. Jerry Coyne wrote a dog shit article about why trans people are all sex criminals, because if you look at the statistics of trans people who are currently in prison, they're more likely to be in prison for sex crimes. Therefore, all trans people are more likely to commit sex crimes. And therefore, trans women shouldn't be allowed to be doctors or therapists or help women in any way because they're all potential predators and shit. And he published that on the FFRF board. The FFRF pulled it down and said, hey, we didn't fucking agree to put that up. I'm sorry, we don't stand by any of that shit. And in righteous indignation, Jerry Coyne, Richard Dawkins, and Steven Pinker all left the FFRF and published a whole bunch of stuff about how they're all in the new woke religion of transgenderism. That's the latest I heard of Steven Pinker. That's the last time I heard Steven Pinker's name was that. And that's probably the first time I heard his name in fucking 10 years before that. And this person is now telling you why women shouldn't have the right to control their own bodies.
This is an argument I heard like 10 years ago, and the argument is not against abortion, first of all. But anyways, I didn't know he talked about all that bullshit. So
yeah. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the next caller who says that we're actually secretly pagans. But I appreciate you talking to us.
Oh, fun. Yeah, it was a good conversation. Thanks.
All right, see you later. Coming up next, we got... I'm going to say this wrong, and I genuinely am not trying to be disrespectful. I just want to make sure I'm saying... Eun? It's I-E-A-U-N, Eun. Could you please tell me how to pronounce your name? And also, hi, welcome to the line.
Shamai, hello. Yayan. It's a Welsh name,
Yayan.
Welsh vowels. They throw English speakers, so don't worry about it, my friend. How are we keeping
That makes way more sense. But
yes,
okay,
I love
Yayan.
the position that atheists are actually pagans in disguise, and they don't realize it.
Okay. Tell me how. Tell me how this works.
So, first and foremost, there's a communication breakdown. There's preloading and misunderstanding that takes place with these words. And all we seek to do as humans is to understand each other. And to understand each other, we create a common reference point so that we're both understood. Would that be fair to say?
I'm willing to vibe with that. From what I understood of it, I'm not a philosophace, but that all sounded fine.
Now, as an atheist yourself, would you say that you prescribe to scientific method and understanding?
As best I can, yes.
And I agree with that too, as best we can, as far as we know. But if I were to ask you, where does science come from? Like, if we go to the flow chart of where science comes from, who created science?
Humans.
True. Okay. Like, if we were to, if I was to be a bit pedantic and to kind of point down as to, which kind of human, like,
really,
I try and push you in the direction of. If I were to answer that, my friend, to kind of load the question, sorry, is like one could argue that science comes from philosophy and philosophy from the natural philosophers. And natural philosophers.
That would be just that'd be a historical perspective, and if we're taking it that far, it goes way farther back than that, because in order to see a difference in stone tool making from Homo habilis to Homo erectus, we would have needed trial and error and testing of materials and all sorts of different things that we would now agree are science. They're very primitive, very rudimentary science, but those are things that predate our species. There's still other species of humans, but they go millions of years back, and they certainly wouldn't call themselves philosophers. So I'm fine with that insofar as like...
Well, our first scribing and understanding of this, we can argue kind of forms from Plato, the one who first, scribed in disagreement with Socrates, the person he was scribing. And the reason that Socrates was against being scribed was he felt that it removed context, it removed inference. In order to understand him, you must be present in front of him, to see him, to hear him, to understand all of the context of the meaning of which he wishes to convey to the audience of which he's speaking to.
Okay, so, and around the same time that they were doing that, people in India were also coming up with many of the scientific advancements that we didn't figure out until the 1200s. So, like,
yes,
to try to tie it back to those philosophers in particular, it doesn't really make sense.
And it's what, but allow me to try and make it make sense. So pagan, like that term, is not a term that we, well, ironically, I self-identify as, to be understood by yourselves right now, but it's not something that I would openly identify as, because it's a word that was designed by monotheists to infer as to what polytheists were. Even the Brahmic religions, like Sikh, Muslim, Sikh, Buddha, like Hindu, like how they got thrown into this as well. There's many understandings across this world from ancient civilizations. Like each of us with our own understandings, interpretations, different symbols. 3, 4, 5. Europeans have to be told that when going to India, that symbol of 4 sides was invented by them. If you understand my meaning, to try and be jovial. But to get to my point. The natural philosophers, the Druids, created what we would have then form as to what we would regard as science now. They worked to what they best understood back then. And one of the problems we have is the preloaded concept that a polytheist worships a god or gods like a monotheist worships a singular god, more poignant of the Abrahamics, of Islam, of Judea, of Christianity. But the word gods, now I don't speak for all pagans by no means, but the word God was a prefix which meant unexplainable and not understandable. But that's why it was always suffixed. It was never used in isolation by polytheists. It was suffixed by something that was explainable. We have the privilege to be able to dance over concept, to be able to have nice line. But
that's a whole another one for fun. I am listening to you. I'm just being silly with the audience.
Where, for instance, an exercise right now. Say, for instance, each of us right now witness something we couldn't explain off of camera. How would we explain to each other right now what we just witnessed? We would seek to use a reference, a metaphor, a simile. You know that, right? It's not that, but it's kind of like that. Effectively, what I'm imposing is that the word God was, or deity, there's a big argument, I won't get into the minutiae of that, but there's an impetus that it was unknown and something known to try and explain the unknown thing that you just witnessed. Where I can give 2 examples of Europeans that were deified by Native American tribes.
Sure. Well, and that's Yeah, we all know that happened. I'm curious to know like where the actual line is here, because it sounds like you're trying to say that in pagan tradition, whatever the hell that means, God and magic are just words that we use for things we don't yet understand, and science is now just reterming or redefining those words, or giving new definitions to, or new vocabulary to things that we're trying to learn, things we don't understand. And so, as scientists, we are practicing paganism by trying to understand the natural world and by digging into things we don't understand. And that's a lot like what ancient philosophers used to do, just through like rhetoric and reasoning. And now we're using modern instruments and mathematics. But in functionality and in reality, we are doing the same process, which is trying to understand the natural world in its own terms. And that is a new way of doing ancient pagan magic by another name. Is that kind of what you're getting to?
In the words of Inglourious Bastards, that's a bingo.
Yeah. The problem that I have with this rhetoric is that it gives credence to the dishonest pagan folk who call in to say that magic is just science we don't understand yet, and therefore I am justified in believing in ghosts and spirits and gods as we actually mean them colloquially, not some other thing, and that I can, draw a pentagram on the ground and burn certain herbs and worship certain deities and chant certain whatevers and read from certain holy scriptures and all these other things that we know are bullshit and we know are harmful because science hasn't proven it wrong yet, and really this is just my special way of doing science, which isn't good science.
My friend, I grant you that, and that's why I preface saying that I don't speak for every pagan. I agree with you that like I'm not for the I put a spell on you because you're mine. I mean, maybe music, and that for me is I'm a bardic, druidic pagan, and to just explain that or to use a proper reference point, I'm a druid, a philosopher, a truth seeker. I try to understand wisdom.
I'm more familiar than you might expect.
I am a bard. I am a musical historian, a musician of many years, 25 years, many instruments. Many stages across the UK. Didn't get any big, but it's all good. But for me, music is life, and life is music. And like with like polytheism, or the worship of what was a god or a spirit or an energy, and I worship music. Music is energy. It's vibrations. It's waves. It's movement. It's what we are made of, each of us. And I vehemently believe that music is the first language of all humans, how we all connect, how there's evidence of us creating musical instruments long before we created weapons of war. And I feel that communication is one of the defining factors of our species. It's what separates us from others. Like, we build upon our stories, and from what we'll call, for arbitrary sake, paganism, we now find that science. And that's what, atheists are pagans in disguise, but they don't realize it. It's the shoulders of the giants of which we stand upon is where I impose. But I also agree with those misusing, but then we can use that with any rhetoric, for instance, like science itself, those who misuse data.
I think that you are... I vibe with what I'm smelling what you're stepping in here, Eon. But like, I just, the problem that gets, what you're getting into here is like Pythagoreanism, only with music instead of numbers. And also Pythagoras was all about music the exact same way that you are, and invented the modern scales that we use today and all these things with mathematics, and also believed that the same way you do about music, believed that numbers were living entities that made up the whole universe and made music possible, and believed that music was medicine that healed the soul the way that, whatever medicine heals the body, and all these different things. A lot of what you're saying was very much the same vibe, and that was from thousands of fucking years ago. The problem that I have with what you're saying,
and we've added too, for instance, with music therapy,
right?
Like
the problem that I have with what you're saying,
prenatal work, for instance, of how we've proven that
I have
prenatal
no
children
issue.
understand.
Sorry, I'm just going to finish this thought here. I have no issue with saying that we stand upon the shoulders of giants, and that we are learning new things based on what other people have taught us, and we're growing all these things. That is the endeavor of science. The issue that I have is when you add this extra language in here to say we're actually secretly pagans in disguise and all these things, because that does have serious meaning. And for the same reason that I would not say all mathematicians are secretly Pythagoreans, that would be a gross oversimplification of what they are and what they do. It would be massively misrepresenting who they are and what their ideals are and what they mean. Pythagoras didn't believe in most of modern mathematics today, would have literally killed you and did kill people for concepts that we now accept as modern mathematics today. It's just not reasonable. So the same thing to say that scientists are philosophers or are pagans is grossly misrepresenting what science is and what scientists do.
Thank you for pointing out the error of my preposition of I realized I didn't want to be generally swathed and I generally swathed. But would it be more fair to correct my statement as to atheists are druids in disguise? Would it be more
I just
comfortable
don't
with that?
know. For the same reason, no. I think that it's okay to say druids have traditions and practices that predate and influence science. That's fine. Or to say that science does things that druids value, and that's fine too. Muslims and Christians say the same thing. To say, Islam is all about, Allah teaches you to go study and to learn and to expand your mind. And Christians have been saying for for over 1,000 years that studying the universe is studying God's design. That's all fine. But if I were to sit here and say all scientists are secretly Christians, that would be stupid, right?
You kind of just fell foul of the preloading of the concept of what God is via that of the prism of Abrams by literally referencing as to how they interpret where.
No, I'm giving you an example from their framework that means exactly as much as yours.
No, but see, once again, that's the swaying with the brush. That's the trying to impose what applies to monotheists applies to polytheists. But what my point entirely has been is the misunderstanding and the miscommunication from the misinterpreting as to what pagans or monist nature worshippers, as in what we actually do believe. And what I'm trying to help cross over here is that to some pagans, I know you've met other ones, but who infer bullshit. I agree with you, but what I'm trying to infer is that the word God or deity. That's why I was trying not to get caught up in that differentiation. But God is a word for unknown, and to help explain the unknown, monotheism, which came after polytheism, honed in and singularized the term God as to inference king, because monotheism is heavily related and interlinked with monarchism.
None of that changes what I said. I didn't say that you are necessarily using their definition of God or their interpretation of God or their outlook on the supernatural or their deistic perception or any of that. I just said the exact same argument that you're making with the exact same spirit in which you're making it is made by religious people of all stripes in these same ways. And it means the same nothing if you're trying to say that all of this is what science secretly is. That's just not appropriate. It's just not accurate.
Well, no, what I'm pointing is that pagans sought to understand of how the world works, and scientists seek to understand how the world works, whereas
and Christians seem to understand how Christians want to understand how the world works.
They purport to have a view through that of a biased lens, whereas nature holds no bias, neither does scientific method, as we come to understand. There are bias within science,
and that is
you can get into the weeds of that, but I mean that's
that is your bias. Saying that they have a bias, but we're doing it this way, you just defined a bias that you have.
No, I was just outlining the viewpoint as to what the Abrahamic religions view outwards, and I'm open to be corrected on that. I speak analytically, not from our position of opinion. Pagans were being burnt with Roman candles by the Roman Catholic Church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Abrams have killed more pagans than they've killed of each other. So we've not got an iron in the fire, so to say.
Changes nothing about what the point is.
What is the point?
The point is that the point that I'm making here is no matter how you see God, and no matter how you see nature, and no matter how you see any of this, all of you are making the same distinction that you are looking into nature and you're trying to find out the truth and you're doing science and you're analyzing the world and you're learning more about it. And all of you come to the same conclusion that you're doing it in the name of, or you're finding out more about your perception of what the divine is, what nature is, what spiritual, whatever. None of it has, like, I can't, for the exact same reason that I can't say scientists are all Muslims in secret, because they're all following.
Outlined of how the word God means unknown to us. We are studying.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what the word means. What matters is that you're using
what atheists practice, which is in science, and science is studying the unknown, is it not?
It's yeah, sure, why not?
So, as in, you've got a bit of a contradictory or a bit of a paradox of your own position.
But that's just you defining your point into existence, because Christians and Muslims say that by doing science and studying the unknown, we are learning about the mind of God as a separate monotheistic creature. And both of you are saying the same.
I'm not. I agree with you that that's what the monotheists say, but that's not what pagans say. See, this is where the communication breakdown starts. See, you're inferring, you're putting words in pagans' mouths that we didn't say. And ironically, we're getting burnt for it.
I didn't put any words in your mouth. I just made a distinction between what you and monotheists are saying.
In order to help, worship our deities, I literally just said, we're trying to understand the unknown. What is this world? The three questions that every human has ever asked. What are we? What is this? What are we to this?
Right, which means that scientists are doing things that pagans enjoy doing. That doesn't mean that scientists are pagans, because we are also doing things that Christians and Muslims enjoy doing. You can say that we're doing it for different reasons. That's fine, but we're doing the same thing. And a lot of Christians and Muslims argue that we are doing things for the same reasons. You're attaching a label that needn't be attached to something that is very, very universal.
My friend, paganism is the most followed theology ever practiced throughout human history. So, I think it's quite ironic.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, considering the fact that it has no defining characteristic.
I think that you're purporting your own bias or lack of understanding as to the collective understanding.
It's literally like saying
thousands of years. Of which
because anybody
who things that you back and speak of today, my friend,
anybody who practices anything that isn't a monotheistic religion has been called pagan. So it's the most practiced religion in the world, because anybody who has ever looked up the stars and gone, "Huh, that's neat," is a pagan by this definition. That doesn't lend it any credibility. And even if you had something, if we were talking about religions practiced today, Catholicism has y'all beat. Doesn't mean that they have any credibility.
They actually don't. There's actually more people follow paganism as a collective terminology, but that's looking into the minutia of it. It's what I'm trying to convey the point across, my friend, is yes, I agree with you on many terms of yes, atheism has evolved. It is science is different to what Druids practiced back then, of where the rituals of which created what we know as modern science. I'm not saying that medicine is the same as it was back then. I'm just pointing to those who thought and sought to understand how the world worked without bias, came to greater understandings, and that practice right there comes from paganism. The collective order of it, of bringing it together, collectivizing it, sharing our understandings, so that we can teach others, so that others can benefit from it.
It doesn't come from paganism. I'm sorry.
Well,
you can say that it came. You can say that pagans practiced it earlier, but there were other people before what you would call pagans that did the same kind of thing. There were other people before Homo sapiens that did the same kind of thing.
But they didn't write it down.
So what? Not all pagans wrote shit down.
It's in oral tradition, and guess who maintained the oral tradition? The Druids and the Bards. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have science today.
You are defining your point into existence by saying people that I can classify this way are doing these things.
Well, how would we arrive at science if it wasn't for pagans? Because that's your
brother.
point.
It'd be the same. It'd be the exact same thing. Be the exact same thing. I don't know. I feel like we're talking in circles here. It would be the exact same thing. You are just looking at a group of people, picking a label that is rhetorically meaningless because it is so unbelievably broad.
Like, it's some atheists are actually true in their search for science. Some are just contrarian Christians, Christians with a crutch. In my personal view,
you are looking at a massive billions upon billions of people that are not related in any way besides the fact that they're humans and they were curious. And you're applying a label that is so immensely broad that it has no real meaning.
We still all found out that it's round. It doesn't matter who came up with the concept. There's a shared concept because of a shared universe, because of shared understandings. That's how we come to science, to get measurements, to remove human bias from it, to create tools in order to create and understand the unknown. We both practice the same thing. But
is it fair to say
that you were inferring, that you were thinking of when you speak of pagans in generality? I agree with you in the sense of, no, I'm not doing a pentagram.
I see what Luthien just put in the chat, and don't you dare. I will reach through this computer and fucking fight you. Our producer just put Roxanne, start agreeing with Forrest just start agreeing with the caller just to annoy Forrest. Dude, it makes as much sense as saying all of scientists all around the world all agree that the earth is round, and that was figured out by Aristotle, therefore we all worship Zeus. Like, no, we fucking don't. That's just not reasonable at all. You are applying a blanket term that is so...
I think we've reached the end of what is reasonable as to your viewpoint, but I'd love to hear the viewpoint of your co-host, because you've spoken quite a bit.
You are applying... I'm going to finish this sentence if it kills you. You are applying a massively broad term to a ridiculously large group of people in a way that gives it absolutely no definitional or explanatory power whatsoever, just to lump us in with a group that none of us identify with on purpose. And I think that that's a silly thing to do. And with that, Roxanne, I would also love to hear your option. Roxanne, you have nothing to say? Roxanne is just shaking her head. She is out of it. She is not into what's being said. No, she can't. I'm a man and I speak for her.
I come from a matriarch society, my friend. Please. Respect.
I quite honestly have been checked out of this conversation. I have been, I really don't have anything to contribute.
If I had a cat in my lap, I would be as well.
Yeah. I've been with the cat. I've been catching up with the chat while you had your little back and forth. I stopped following maybe about 5 minutes in, which was about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. It just doesn't take it's not giving me anything, man. I'm sorry. I don't think that you're being reasonable with your definitions here.
I think you're being disrespectful of your elders and where your understandings come from. But hey, that's each to their
own. I have no issue with the first part of that.
There'd be no ill harm. As in, like, hey, I say assalamu alaikum, God be with you, shalom, namaste, have a nice day, don't be a C word. Like a public broadcast. But it's
no issue with being disrespectful to my elders. I'm very fine doing that, and I disagree that I'm being disrespectful at where I get my understanding from. That's the point of what I do.
We agree to disagree last end. But hey, either way, appreciate what you do and everything that you do. Even though we might disagree on this topic, but thank you for what you do. Carried Mauragam, much love from Wales.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Disrespectful of your elders, but it says he's 37.
That is older than me. I mean, hey, I'm only 34.
30s on 30s disrespect.
It's a real crime. It's a real problem. 30s on 30s disrespect, y'all. When are we going to get these 30-year-olds under control? We have one call left. Thank you, by the way, to the person in chat who pointed out that he actually did just totally say doo-doo. By the way, fuck you, Jovan, for now raiding with your viewers as we are on our last caller. Good gravy. We have one caller left. They've been waiting for a very long time. And they want to talk about the evolution of religiosity. We didn't get any good gender calls. I've been piping this up for weeks, and the transphobes didn't make it.
No one wanted to come and chat with me. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll try not to be sad.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Next time I want everyone to come with their prepared arguments as to why psychology is not a science, why social science is not a science, and things about gender essentialism, please and thank you.
To the person in chat who said that you're upset with me because I let him walk all over me, this last caller, I was trying like hell to figure out what the fuck he was talking about, and I was letting him explain himself, but towards the end, I was, not letting him interrupt quite as much. But I don't use the mute button on this show. I very, very rarely do. Let's talk to Mike, who's been waiting for gosh knows how long, who wants to talk about religiosity. Mike, you are finally on the line with Forrest and Roxanne. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. Thanks for waiting for so very long.
Incredible.
Fantastic. Well, I was listening to the last call and it kind of really threw me off a bit, but hopefully I don't put you guys to sleep trying to explain my hypothesis.
Right on.
Let's hear
I'd
it.
love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with gender, but hopefully it's in the that Venn diagram of psychology and biology. But I was doing some research into something unrelated. I was doing some research into music, and it kind of tangentially led me to think that potentially religiosity evolved as a spandrel. And I came across that term when I was trying to figure out what music really is, like how to even define it. And as I understand it, a spandrel is, I guess the best analogy to use is a cheesecake. We seek out stuff that has sugar and cholesterol because our bodies require it, but there's no part of our body that is actually seeking out cheesecake, but then somebody can hack our brain to be able to make something that we will love especially. So I began to think that music is a spandrel, but then there is evidence that shows that there are dedicated networks in the brain specifically for enjoying music, and the acceptation camp seems to think that it was useful towards presenting as one unit. So, for example, if one tribe was able to synchronize their war cries, it would signal to a predator or a opposing tribe that they are one unit, and so they would survive better that way. And so the brain managed to adapt it, that feeling of being able to enjoy music because it was really useful as a social and survival mechanism. And so I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on religiosity being something like that. In fact, music, I would say that music is one part of the pie chart of what religiosity actually is. So hopefully that makes sense.
I'll leave it to Roxanne. I've been talking for the past 3 hours.
I think if I'm gathering correctly, what you're suggesting is that humans have a tendency to search for meaning and make meaning. Is that kind of like the fundamental, or did I miss a whole bunch of that?
Well, that's also part of it. I've heard of something called hyperagency detection, which is, I guess, the tendency for humans to seek meaning in stuff even when it's not there because it helps you survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was thinking that potentially music, and because I listen to the line a lot, right? And you get people calling in saying, well, I experienced God. I felt that feeling. I felt him. I felt the feeling. And sometimes there are people like, well, I felt the same way when I saw Pink Floyd live or when I did that. And I even heard, I think it was Promise. In fact, she was talking about the Prince of Egypt with a caller who said that they became religious after watching that movie because they literally felt God after reaching that. And Promise mentioned that, maybe it's just the soundtrack. And it's like, well, maybe, all this gospel music and everyone's, just singing their lungs out and they feel Jesus. And, potentially it's just, a function of liking music so much. Is God music? Now I'm starting to sound like the previous caller, but.
So I think I'm I don't know if I'm fully following what the line was. I mean, I think I can speak from kind of the social psych point of view, which is kind of like what you said, like people will search for a meaning or they'll try to create understanding out of something that gives their life meaning, even if it's not there, they want to feel in community and in union with other people. We want to experience the same psychological states as other people. It makes us feel not existentially isolated. And I think that religion and religious experience might be one way that we feel that sense of connection and it reduces our existential dread. But I don't necessarily know if like something like hearing music can then like make you religious or if that is like like it's certainly not a guaranteed path that people are going to follow. Like every single person would experience the same awe-inducing situation and then feel like they're suddenly missing religion. But I don't know. I don't know if I captured the entirety of the question. So if I'm like misinterpreting, let me know.
Well, I guess I'm laughing now. I'm seeing the thing. Nice little drawing, but
his
I
cake was
basically,
made of
like,
cheese. It was a cheesecake.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, I guess I mean you're kind of touching upon it. I like personally, like I'm an atheist. I'm questioning myself, but I'm ironically I'm questioning whether I should be a pagan or not. But that previous caller kind of maybe convinced me otherwise. But I mean I'm not like advocating that music somehow turns you religious. I'm just wondering if potentially that's what's going on when it comes to especially when it comes to like gospel music. It seems as if somebody is creating a cheesecake for religiosity, that someone is trying to invoke that sort of feeling in order to be more receptive to those ideas. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
so it sounds like we're saying that, like, when we talk about the evolution of religiosity, we often talk about things like apophenia and pareidolia, and how we tend to find patterns and meaning in things that aren't really there, and that's actually evolutionarily beneficial because a false positive when there isn't a threat is a better bet than a false negative when there is a threat, and therefore we have this tendency to prescribe meaning and whatnot and find patterns and things because it's actually a survival advantage. And when we combine that with culture, storytelling, and the assumption of agency, combined together to create something like religion. And so in your case, talking about this cheesecake thing, the need for sugar and whatnot as an evolutionary advantage is not necessarily evolving to want cheesecake, but cheesecake fits the bill. And so that's a thing that we fall into. And so similarly, having these false positives and having this pattern seeking behavior and assigning agency to things and having really good stories, we're not actually going for religion. That's something that just all of these different parts of our evolutionary history fall in line with, and that's the kind of emergent property of all those individual pieces. Is that what you're saying?
That's way better articulated than I could have put it. And honestly, when I thought about it in my head, it sounded a lot more like how you said it. So I'm glad I got the thought out.
We agree. Is this
the speaker of the people? Forrest is the speaker of the people.
The end result of all that is, yeah. yeah, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Biologists and psychologists say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for waiting on hold for 2.5 hours. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm happy to talk to you. I've been chewing on that for a while, and I just, I'd rather wait for 2 hours and hear it from you than go on ChatGPT and, try and figure it out myself.
Hell yeah. No, we appreciate that. Fuck ChatGPT. I wish
hope
I
you
had
start
something to
feeling
argue
better,
with you about,
Roxanne.
but I don't.
No, me either.
Oh well, that's great. I'm glad we're in agreement on all this, and I appreciate you guys taking my call.
I appreciate you calling in and waiting for so
I-
long.
I have one. If you have never read anything of Ernest Becker's, all of his stuff is about like search for meaning in the world and the role of religion in that, and that might be an interesting place to start.
And I'm pretty sure Franz de Waal has some really cool stuff. He's a primatologist too. I'm pretty sure has some stuff about like society and whatnot as it is in a, like a putting like not religion with apes, but talking about like ape culture and social behaviors and whatnot, and comparing it very much to humans. Might have some parallels there that you might be looking for.
What was that again? What was the name?
Franz de Waal was the one that I was talking about. I know he did one recently, but right before he died, he released a book about like biological arguments for trans people and stuff, talking about apes and gender. And he has another one called like Chimpanzee Society that's like really old. But I'm pretty sure he's done some stuff about like behaviors and whatnot that could be in line with what you're talking about.
Okay, well that's some real good info for me to go off of, and I really appreciate what you guys do.
Right on, man. Have an awesome
Thank
rest of your day,
you.
Mike. We're going to move on to super chats and then start the process of fucking off. But I appreciate you being here.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I put in the host chat over here that I feel like I owe Roxanne some sort of compensation for how fucking shitty, not all the callers, but a lot of our callers were. But hey, it's what happens sometimes. That's the show. And
No one
also, I
even
don't owe
tried to
her-
tell me that psychology wasn't real.
Right? We had one for a while. One person was waiting for a minute to talk about what the soft science is and all these things. And we had the closest we got to a gender call was the one guy who literally just went, "That sounds crazy. Bye." And that was it. And like, you know what I mean? Like that's the extent of the thinking that we get from transphobes on this channel. I was fucking, where's Ulrich when you need him? We could have had a fucking arrogant piece of shit tell us all that all science is wrong because it just goes against his intuition. That would have been fun. Anyway,
Next time.
let's start the chats. Super chats. They're super, they're chats. And it says this one's on the banner, but it's not. There it is. Stomp10 says, I ask a lot about creationist arguments only because they've been appearing in my community more, and I hope I haven't exhausted you with them. Great show. That's literally our job. That's what we're here for. Are we going back and forth? What are we doing?
Yes, but I can't see them. Hold on, I'm pulling up the show now so I can read what's next. Okay. I still cannot see the next one. Is there one that I should be reading now?
Forrest,
Or should I be seeing
you
some?
only have access to click send.
I can
but
click
if you
send, but it should be on the
if
screen
you click
in
the
front of you.
funding button instead of calls to the left.
Don't talk
Oh,
like him.
I see it now.
Don't talk like him. You don't need to debase yourself this way.
I see it. I see it
yes,
now.
you.
It was just severely delayed. It was,
We all
so
heard it.
just as a heads up, I'm seeing them quite delayed. Okay, Mira Featherbender for $5. What?
Are you looking at it on
What?
Zoom or on the YouTube?
I'm looking at it on YouTube because I can't see it on Zoom.
What the fuck? But if you're on Zoom, do you have the two up with both you and me next to each
Yes,
other?
but it's
as an
very,
option?
very, very blurry.
Fuck me, dude.
Just click
I
pin.
know.
That's great.
Click the three dots and then click pin.
Yeah, that should hold it in place, and it won't be as big
That's
of a
gonna
problem.
really confuse me. Okay, I'm back. I'm ready.
Okay, go and read this thing.
Okay, sorry about that. Wow, I'm super competent. Okay,
New
Mira
computer.
Featherbender, $5 says, we love petulant little sheets. Hi, Forrest and Roxanne.
Hell yeah. Spooky Metalhead says, Roxanne has been one of my favorite guest hosts since her last appearance, and I'm hoping she's on more shows more often. We got to get you back on Chewed Gum, girl. Like, that'd be
Yeah.
a whole thing. Got this one for you.
All right. Okay, Mira Featherbender, again, BT dubs. I accidentally found an actual 2016 research paper discussing transing mice. They were able to disable a gene which then made male gonads produce female gametes and vice versa. Phenomenal.
Hell yeah. I have not heard of this, but I mean, our president talked about it. They're transing the mice. They're
And
making the mice
frogs.
transgender.
The frogs are gay.
Stomp 10 says, by the way, what is both your favorite genres of music? Mine is the sound of Charlie Kirk no longer speaking. That is it's a banger. It's a banger. And it's been louder and louder for the past year.
What's your
What do you-
favorite genre? How can I compete with that? I was going to say like pop, but that seems weak as fuck in comparison to the sound of
Compared to
Charlie Kirk
this.
no longer speaking.
Right? I'm an eclectic little bitch. I do love me some pop punk from the 2000s. That's great. But like also I fucking love opera, and I really like reggae, and I really like
Opera.
jazz. Oh yeah, dude. And I really like fucking like psychedelic funk jazz. There's a band called the Black Pumas that I've been really into for a little while. Check them out. The Colors by the Black Pumas. One of the best songs you've ever heard. And then and Sam Cooke up in here with Nothing Can Change This Love I've Got For You. Eric Benet, I believe his name is, wrote a song called Poetry Girl. I can't find it anywhere except for in the soundtrack for some fucking movie. Go look at that.
Wow.
Don't.
And I said pop.
Speculate on what kind of wizard I am. Unless you want to, I guess. Pop's good in some cases. I don't know. There's some good pop things out there.
It's fine.
This person asked this.
Oh, am I reading this? God, I was reading it in my head. Mystic Mind. I was like, okay, wait, let me read it. Mystic Mind Analysis says, if you love speculative evolution and Pokemon, check out the new book, Pokecology. It's a fun look into the naturalistic behaviors of Pokemon. That's interesting. That's very niche.
The NBA Jazz drafted a woman in like the what the fuck is this now? Why is it? What's happening now? What's why is it just me?
Where am I?
Sexism. The sexism of the show.
I will not be coming back.
Right?
And then I was silenced.
What's going on? We can't even see the super chats anymore.
One second.
We're just here. We're just here, and this is the situation. Well, what you can't see is somebody said the NBA's Jazz drafted a woman in like the 77. And I don't know what any of those words mean.
Me
either. We're back.
Or when this came
thank
in,
you.
Yeah.
Here's this.
Okay, Glam Pixie. We never hear about the murders and abuse of trans men because society still views us as women.
True. And society doesn't care about women getting murdered.
Correct.
Atheist Mechanic says, hey, Hubsy as an actual mechanic, don't compare us. My work is legit. Don't do it again. Thanks. And then we have a similar thing here from Chris Dover. I've used both chiropractors and physical therapists. Physical therapists help. Chiropractors almost paralyze my right leg.
Incredible.
I'll leave this one to you.
Bayleaf T 666. That was so lame. Thumbs down.
We've got I'm gonna skip over these two because we usually don't take comments of people just talking about the host appearances. So I'll go to this one, Green Man Dave, who says, grand to see you at BajaCon again, Forrest. Loved your presentation. If you're coming back next year and would like to come to Michigan early, I'd be happy to take you and Amber to museums and foods. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Did that person that you skipped call me fat and ugly?
No, the opposite,
Damn.
unfortunately. Can we please make a new mod in chat? Yeah, we were on it. I'm going to send this to you to be the one to read.
Okay, this one. Alice and Dr. Pepper. As a trans woman, my sperm use she, her pronouns. Well, they used to. Now they live on a farm upstate.
Nice.
Incredible.
With all the anti-LGBTQ rhetoric that Gohan has spouted, he's going to evoke men can get pregnant as a defense for his nonsense abortion
I was
argument.
not expecting that.
We like to think that he's growing. You know what I mean? Maybe that was an honest knee-jerk reaction out of him, you know?
Elliot K, 1986. Maybe men could have forced vasectomies until the woman is ready to be pregnant. I think that's a reasonable compromise.
True. It'd be easier. For future reference, cat vomit sounds are better than that call. I tried to help. with the poopies.
I have this dried cat vomit that I've gotta get to. Kurt Fell. Parents probably aren't equipped to teach a large number of things. I'm becoming anti-theist fast, but it's going toward thought policing.
I'm starting college classes in 2 days. Fuck yeah, congratulations. I'm excited.
Yay!
Do you have any advice? I'm going into anthro and public health, if that helps. Do you have any advice for people starting college?
My advice, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think when I was starting in a psych program, I thought that it was very important that I take like the most science-y classes. So I really wanted to take like neuroscience and cognitive psych. And then what I learned the most from was from sociology courses I took, cultural anthropology classes, and then eventually social psychology classes. And so I think go in with an open mind and try to eliminate the biases that you might have about like what classes will be most, quote, valuable to you, because you'll probably be very surprised by the classes that you underestimate.
I think that's a great advice. Yeah, explore. This is your chance to broaden your perspectives. There's no such thing as bad knowledge. You will learn things that will help you in ways you didn't expect. And get your gen eds out at community college because it's cheaper and you can then do more things. Thank you for reminding me that I'm supposed to be filtering the fucking chats. I think that is also assuming that all Christian parents are bad and indoctrinating their kids. Sure is not real, but I know lots of good people who also claim to be Christian. And likewise. Wazam.
Why don't we teach kids about mythology and comparative religion in school?
We should.
I think we do sometimes.
Sometimes. If Roxanne had left the mic open when the chat was hacking up, it would have been so confusing. How could we have been able to tell the difference between that and how Gohan normally sounds?
Or between the fart sounds and the puke
and the Nazi
sounds.
Right?
Okay.
I don't know.
To Sharik. Trans women being who they... Oh, wait. Am I frozen? I think I'm frozen.
You aren't anymore. There was a weird stutter for a second.
Okay.
You're not frozen.
Okay. Trans women being who they are informs my cis woman belief that anyone of any gender can define their own interest / expression independently from the oppressive society in which we live.
They're just literally talking about their experiences, y'all. I'm a trans woman. I fit in better in the garage than I do in the kitchen. Not all of us fit the stereotype. I'm more of a tomboy. Fucking Mercury Stardust is a trans woman who's literally a fucking handy person. I don't know the word. Like, she fixes houses and shit. She builds houses. She's out here swinging a hammer and patching drywall and shit. Like, tell her that she's a fucking stereotype. For gaslighting the Nazi, love yous. Hell yeah, is my favorite thing to do. And same thing with this one for the handling of the Nazi. It's what we're here for. That dude fucking blows, dude. I am sorry. I did ask you to pick the call, and I did repeatedly say I want you to hear this, and then I did. So that was rude to you, and I apologize to you for that. But like at the end of the day, I just
also
couldn't.
wasn't aware that he was a legitimate repeat Nazi, a repeat Nazi caller.
Card-carrying piece of shit.
That is how you talk to a Nazi shit. Thanks, that made my day.
Hell yeah. I've always said and will continue saying the only opinions that matter when it comes to abortion are between a pregnant person and their doctor. Fuck yeah.
Since this is for you want to take it?
Oh, Forrest, why do you say Trump cheated on his wife with a porn star? He cheated on his wife. That's what matters. Her job is irrelevant. I bring up the fact that he cheated with a porn star because the people I'm talking to are usually evangelical Christians who want to talk about how virtuous Trump is. He cheated on every one of his wives. This one time happened to have also been with a porn star, and then he got 34 felony convictions for mishandling campaign finances to pay her off and pay for her silence to try to maintain the support of the evangelical person I am talking to. So, like, it's important to include that. That's why I think so. This one.
The EUA is basically the Roe versus Wade framework, no problem with it, but the US has created a weird situation because the courts suck.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that, but I'll look into it. Partner and I got enough ice cream after our abortion win. Should have been doing it during. Also, those were Canadian dollars. I shouldn't have put that up there.
This is from Jackson, whom I went to high school with. Roxanne, I am sorry. You are a better social scientist than my former Uncle John from Chicago, who is a famous psychologist. Turns out he was friends with Epstein. Oh, great. And they talked about music and stuff.
And we just learned that music is science.
Is religion.
And also that we're all religious.
Yeah.
Didn't like the smug, arrogant biologic guy, but I really liked Roxanne / suck Jimmy, as I'm guessing what that means.
Roxanne rocks. Thank you, Forrest, too.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Did you get Gohan to admit that men become pregnant? Progress? That's what I'm saying. That's literally what I'm saying.
Trans rights. Did you see the chart of paternal and maternal DNA sources from Brazil that was making the rounds a few weeks ago? No, I have not. I will look into that. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I actually would like to understand what psychology is. Break it down for us.
Very briefly, the scientific study of human thoughts and behavior. That's it.
There you go. But I'm about to fucking so my PhD work right now is in psychoneuroendocrinology. So I'm focusing on molecular biology, but I'm studying hormones in the brain and how they affect things like learning and cognition. And I'm about to start taking some psychology classes to fill in some blanks and things that I don't know. And that is going to be fucking crazy. And I am going to be bothering you with questions. So be prepared for that. New part of our friendship as I call you at 3 a.m. Like, hey, can you please explain cognitive dissonance to me in a new way? Because this is just the same thing. You know what I mean? It's gonna be great.
As long as I can ask you why my hormones are doing what they're doing.
I would love to mansplain your hormones to you. Japanese scientists have successfully created fertile female clones of a male rat who can have healthy offspring when breeding with the original male rat. Not sure how I feel about that. You should feel excited because nothing matters and everything is interesting.
I think any host should just start a call with John with, look, this is all my personal opinion, but the world would be better without you. Wow.
That's John call. John does every one of his calls saying, listen, I'm just my personal opinion. This is all just my personal opinion, but you know, blacks are inferior, and it's just all every single time. So like, yeah, it's just my personal opinion, bro. But, like, I'm just saying, you should eat shit. And finally, the last one is the first time I've heard of Mercury Stardust. Thank you so much. I'm an auto mechanic and a pilot and build airplane parts. She's fantastic, and she's raised literally millions of dollars for like trans healthcare and whatnot. She's a really cool lady. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, theys and thems, and everybody else, that is the show. It's all done. That was the last of our super chats. Roxanne, do you have anything that you want to plug or promote before we proceed to wrap up?
Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on the YouTube. I have
Right
no
on.
followers on the YouTube, and come with questions on psychology and gender next time.
Right, for real. We got to do this again and hopefully get some callers. I will really quickly say before we wrap up that I have got a live stream scheduled for this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Jovan, myself, Katie Asaurus, and Persephone Valentine, we are all getting to, and Jesse Jerdak is DMing. We're all playing D&D to raise money for a charity called Hope for the Day, which is a suicide prevention group. So let me really quickly get over to, they do mental health care awareness and whatnot, and helping give people tools that they need to do outreach and whatnot, and trying to reduce suicide rates, especially in younger populations. Really, really cool stuff. Here is the link for the campaign right now. If you want to look at it and maybe throw in some money to help us get to our goal, we're trying to raise $25,000 during that live stream. So tune into that, and it'll be on. I'll stream it on my channel, and we're probably going to simul stream it elsewhere as well. So stay tuned this Saturday to watch us play a game of D&D to raise money to help save people's lives. That would be really, really great.
Nice.
With that, that's the show. Sorry for what it was, and I will see you all next week. Goodbye.